5:32 on May 27th, 2026. I'll call this meeting of the Morton County Planning and Zoning Commission to order. Let's start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call. Zach Meyer.
Here.
L.
Here.
Buckley.
Here.
Braun.
Here.
Berger is absent. Rohr.
Here.
Tomac.
Here.
Wald.
Here.
So everybody is present except Carter. All right, approval of tonight's agenda.
I'll move to approve the May 27th, 26th Morton County Planning and Zoning Commission agenda. Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And approval of the minutes from April 22nd.
I move to approve the minutes as printed.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, item number 1, Natalie.
Our first item is the GL Gerving second subdivision. This is in the southwest quarter of Section 2, Township 138 North, Range 88 West, located about 3 miles southeast of Glen Ullin. The applicants wish to divide, so we have a quarter section here. And they have 2 existing residences here. This was the first subdivision. This is an outlot. They want to divide a third lot in between these 2. And we have this separate lot. So the intent is to create a 3-lot subdivision here and then rezone everything in the pink hash marks to estate to keep that quarter to a maximum 4 buildable lots per quarter. So this is the plat for that upper corner. There would be access easements to each of the lots across Lot 3. Each of those is conforming 1.5 acres or greater. And then the second request, which should probably be a separate motion,
Wants to go to government hub.
is the rezoning for that 110 acres to estate. So staff recommends approval of both those motions, and I can take any questions.
Any questions for Natalie? Okay, not seeing any. I will go ahead and open the public hearing. Is there anyone that would like to speak? Item number 1. Second call for the hearing.
Maybe remind people online.
Yeah, and anybody online during the hearings, yes, just unmute yourself and speak up. So third and final call for the GL Gerving second subdivision public hearing. Okay, I will close the public hearing. Wishes of the commission.
I'll make the first motion. I move to recommend approval of the final plat of the short form subdivision known as GL Gerving second subdivision and a zoning map amendment from agricultural to residential as the subdivision conforms to the regulations established in Article 17 of Morton County Land Use Code and conforms to land use priorities established in a 2045 comprehensive plan.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Wait, make sure you wait for Andy.
So he's mouthing it. I'm
Okay.
watching Andy's, and
Mouth.
I'm fine with that.
I forgot to unmute.
No, you're good, Andy.
We got like 12 items, you'll get it by the end.
Yeah. Well, then I'll make the second motion that's adjacent to this. I move to recommend approval of the zoning map amendment from agricultural estate district for 110.07 acres.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 2.
Second item is the South 5 subdivision. This is in the north half of Section 3, Township 139 North, Range 85 West. This is located about 2¼ miles northeast of New Salem. I had to zoom out to give you a idea. So there's the ETA of New Salem, and you go up the highway there, and it is over here off the 36th. So the applicants would like to break a 5-acre residential lot out of that north half. This would be the third buildable lot within the northeast quarter, or the fourth buildable lot within the northwest quarter, because it does split the quarter line, but it does not exceed that 4 per quarter in either quarter. Missouri West Water does have a line in proximity to this that could potentially be extended to serve the subdivision. So there's an existing driveway that serves the home that's already there, so that access easement would serve this proposed lot. Staff is recommending approval, and I can take any questions.
Any questions for Natalie? Okay, not seeing any. I will go ahead and open the public hearing. If there's anyone that would like to speak, come up to the podium. Second call for the hearing. Third and final call. And I'll close the hearing. Ready for a motion.
I move to recommend approval of the final plat of the short form subdivision known as South 5 subdivision, and a zoning map amendment from agricultural to residential, as the subdivision conforms to the regulations established in Article 7 of the Morton County Land Use Code and conforms to the land use priorities established in the 2045 Comprehensive Plan. Second.
Motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 3.
Our third item is the Binnendahl subdivision. This is in the northwest quarter of Section 3, Township 138 North, Range 84 West. This is about 1.5 miles south of Judson on the east side of County 84. So County 84, it's just on this side. There's an existing residence there. They're looking to just split a 2.28 acre lot from that quarter section and rezone it to residential. So basically just dedicating that 75 feet. We do have a right-of-way corridor there, but this is just dedicating a solid 75 feet as we ask for in our future road designation. The existing residence is served by Missouri West Water and has power. Staff is recommending approval, and I can take questions.
Any questions for Natalie?
I do have one, Mr. Chair.
Natalie, what is the existing right-of-way for County Road 84 there?
So it varies because it was actually, engineered, so it goes in and out in certain places. So it's close to 75. It was very little that got added, but just to make kind of a clean line,
Right, just curious.
why not, Yeah.
Anything else for Natalie? Okay, I will open the public hearing. If there's anyone that would like to speak. Second call for the hearing. Third and final call, and we'll close the hearing. Ready for a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I would move to recommend approval of the final plat of the short form subdivision known as Binnendall subdivision and a zoning map amendment from ag to residential, as the subdivision conforms to the regulations established in Article 7 of the Morton County Land Use Code and conforms to the land use priorities established in the 2045 Comprehensive Plan.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 4.
Sorry, I'm gonna cycle through again. I was a click ahead. Okay. Next item is the Prairie Flats subdivision. This is in the north half of Section 31, Township 138 North, Range 80 West. So, you see, further up here is the Veterans Cemetery. This is on 1806 at 138A. So it's here, current zoning is agricultural. This is residential in the yellow. That is the view shed for the Veteran Cemetery that's in our future land use plan. So everything in orange, we designated as we don't want to encourage development there. This lot is being broken off for ag use and rezoning to estate because it's less than 35 acres there. The situation didn't accommodate keeping 35 acres, to break off as ag, but the applicant intends to just continue using it for ag. So that estate zoning would be in keeping with our wish to not encourage development in that location. So the property boundary, the quarter line isn't really aligned with the road. So they're dedicating right away up to the quarter line, and then we would assume whenever the other side develops that we would get the rest of the right away. So staff thought that was reasonable. Just go to your property line, dedicate the right away, and then we'll figure the rest out later. So I do want to make a note that the county, assuming we have it in the budget, the county is going to be redoing our future land use plan in 2027. So, has been different discussion about this view shed and other view sheds and future land use and where residential goes, where water is, all those things. I really encourage everyone who's listening to watch out for notices for that in 2027, probably like this same time next year, and participate in that future land use update. We do it every 10 years, so our 10 years are up. So with that, staff is recommending approval of the short form subdivision and rezoning to estate, and I can take questions.
Are there any questions for Natalie?
So Mr. Chairman, so we don't have to worry about an approach or anything, right? Natalie?
It would come off of, the 40, what is that? What did I say? The north-
138?
Yes. 138.
Okay.
It would come off there,
Off of there,
yes.
and then onto Highway 1806.
So in other
138
words, we don't want a state permitted approach off 1806, they'd be coming off the county
Okay.
road, yeah. I mean, if the state wants to grant one, they can, but there's already kind of an approach there, yeah.
Anything else for Natalie? Okay, then I will open the public hearing if there's anyone that would like to speak on this item.
Kind of crowded here. Kisuki.
Pull it down, Keith. There.
Are you referring to me being short?
I know you're short.
I'd like clarification of what this is, first off, because nothing has been stated as what it is. Is it going to be a house? Is it going to be temporary, something temporary? Is it going to be something, being you mentioned the view shed, is it going to be something that's going to be tall? I mean, that was a pretty vague letter. It should be stated. And the term estate, I've never heard that. When did this become something in planning and zoning? All the years of it, I've never heard it referred to. I'd like that question answered. And there was quite a bit of damage to the county road this spring from this person. The county needs to watch that.
Okay, so to answer those questions, estate was a zoning district that we developed for the purpose of transferring agricultural parcels that don't meet the 35-acre minimum for ag. You know, a lot of time, or sometimes you might have a stream that meanders and you've got a quarter section that cuts the two sides of that stream, and the person on the north functionally accesses a little piece that goes below that stream, and person on the south functionally accesses a piece that goes on the stream on the other side. But the section line or quarter line, you know, splits those pieces. So maybe you got 3 acres here and 3 acres here that those two landowners want to swap. And so we invented it for land swaps like that. It's ended up that we've used it for a lot more things. So basically, the uses that are allowed by right in estate are limited in number. Ag parcels have an entitlement automatically to construct a residence. Estate parcels do not. They're not allowed to construct a residence. That's not a by right use. The applicant, basically, when we rezone something to estate, we're essentially leaving it for ag use. The applicant had stated that they wanted to put grain bins there, so that would be the assumption of what would go there, but they can't build a house. So, and I think animal boarding kennel is one use that's allowed. There's some other uses that are more, I guess, animal or ag focused, but it's a limited number of uses. And then, did that answer your, I think it was the 2 questions. Did that answer your questions?
And if it didn't, come
Yeah,
up to the
come back-
podium
come
and
back up.
just come up to the podium and I guess we'll go back and forth.
You said grain bins, Natalie. So now, doesn't that fall into what you were saying about the view shed? Because they're going to be visible. I'm assuming they're going to be 20, 30, 40,000, 50,000. So that means they're going to be up in the air quite a ways. And they're going to be visible from everything. So.
Yeah, so we run into the state limitations on, we can't make regulations that prohibit or prevent farming and ranching and incidents of farming and ranching. We don't limit agricultural buildings in that way, not in estate, not in view sheds, not anywhere. So that's why.
Okay, second call for the hearing. Third and final call. And I'll close the hearing. Wishes of the commission.
Are you ready for a motion?
Ready for motion.
I move to recommend approval of the final plat of the short form subdivision known as Prairie Flats subdivision and a zoning map amendment from agricultural to estate as the subdivision conforms to regulations established in Article 7 of the Morton County Land Use Code and does not expand development within the Veteran Cemetery viewshed beyond agricultural uses.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 5.
Our next item is the Becker subdivision. This is in the northeast quarter of Section 32, Township 138 North, Range 81 West, located about 2¼ miles southwest of the Mandan Airport. So right here, it's over here. We have mostly ag and then a little bit of residential over there. So the applicant is looking to, this is 40 acres total. This larger parcel could be an exempt parcel. They don't have to put it in a subdivision, but this 3-acre lot, they want to rezone this to residential. And so rather than doing an exempt lot with a subdivision, they just put it all on one subdivision plat. We've done that before. So they would be dedicating an access easement along there to get to lot 1. There is Missouri West water in proximity to that residential lot that could potentially be extended there. Staff is recommending approval of this 2-lot subdivision and rezoning from ag to residential on lot 1. And I can take any questions.
Are there any questions for Natalie?
Mr. Chairman, there's enough water? That's what we've had the questions, because that's that same general area?
I mean, we, usually when we do a single lot, we're not asking them, it's only when we get into long form.
Okay.
You know, that we have them do a hydraulic study. We basically are kind of like, well, you do your research and, you know, you can do a well, because it's feasible to do a well for one lot. We just don't, on our multi-lot subdivisions, we don't want to give the public the impression that it's a good spot for development if there isn't water. But on the single lots, we've generally just let them figure it out.
And how far is it off of Highway 6?
So that would be a mile, roughly.
So if it was a long form, we wouldn't allow it then, because it's too far away from the...
Yep, but short forms,
Short form is okay.
we just let it go.
Because we had a quite contentious road commission meeting last week about dust and roads. And so that's my questions as far as people complaining that they're gonna have dust
Yeah.
on people that are moving onto these rural residential lots.
Yeah, I guess I would say that's pretty close to paved highway. I mean, as the rural single lot subdivisions go, some of them are much more remote than this one.
Mr. Chair, I do have one question. So Natalie, it looks like on the aerial photo, and so they're gonna have a road going into this lot right next to an existing road?
So that is not a road, or well, I should say, That, I think it's called 22nd because it's on
Because it's on a section line?
a section line, but I would have to look that up. I don't know if that is a section line or not.
It says
Okay.
right here, east line of section 32 on the plat. So I'm assuming it is.
The only thing is, the neighboring landowner owns the land in between that road and this lot. So they would have to get permission from the neighbor if they wanted to use 22nd to get to their lot.
It just seems a little odd.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not a road, like the access that would be dedicated for this subdivision is their own private drive. It's not a road.
Right. I'm just thinking about approach distances and stuff.
Mm-hmm. And I believe I did tell them to talk to the highway department, up front for that reason. I guess I didn't.
Just to make sure they can even get an approach permit for this
Yep,
easement.
yep, and it's flat, site distances are, it's easy, it's all completely flat, so
Yeah.
they could put it anywhere along there. Essentially, I guess if there was an issue, they could, adjust that access easement to be going where the approach
Right.
needs to go.
Okay.
It's, this is so zoomed out, that distance is bigger than probably what it looks like here.
Yeah, on the plat, it says, I think it says 184, 189,
Yep,
so.
yep. But yeah, again, it's just mostly because there isn't access to the actual public right-of-way. There's another landowner in between.
Other questions for Natalie?
So, Natalie, you don't know if John or Chad has issued an approach permit yet?
Wade can probably address that.
Okay,
Wade's online.
okay.
We can wait till the public
Sure,
hearing.
yeah.
Okay.
Anything else for Natalie? Okay, I will open the public hearing, and guess I'll give Wade the microphone first if he wants to answer Jackie's question.
Chairman Kist, members of the Morton County Planning and Zoning Commission, my name is Wade Bachmeyer. I'm a real estate broker with Landmark Real Estate Services, and I'm representing the applicants in this transaction. This is a tract of land that does have access to rural water. I received the applicants did put in an engineer's request to see if water was available. We got that back today. Rural water is available. Natalie is correct in terms of access off 22nd because the tract of land that is in question here was purchased by the Myers some years back. At that time, they purchased it from the Smiths, who live immediately south of where this application is located. At that time, they wanted to keep their tree row as part of their land. So they actually surveyed a few acres out of that and retained ownership of the tree row, which does not allow access off 22nd to this tract of land. That's why the easement is needed from the county road to the north down to the subdivision, the one lot, one block subdivision. Does that answer your questions?
My question was, Wade, about an approach permit. If
The
one-
approach permit, I do not believe has been granted yet because Obviously, we're waiting for the determination from the Morton County Planning and Zoning, and I'm assuming from County Commission.
Right, Chairman Kiston.
Yeah, go ahead.
Commissioner Buckley, I had mentioned to them, they would probably want to talk to, Highway Department up front, because of that question, if there's any issues. And that would be typical, we're not gonna actually give them their approach permit until the zoning is all done. So, but, yeah, I'm trying to remember, I feel like I had I have so many conversations. I feel like I had a conversation with Highway Department staff and that there weren't any glaring red flags, I guess.
Okay, the public hearing is open for Becker subdivision. If there's anyone else that would like to come up to the podium and speak. I'll do a second to last call.
Hi, my name's Jason Crane. Do you know what Jared Becker's plan is for this exactly? Because yeah, it's just a vague letter, so I'm wondering.
Thanks, Jason.
Whenever anyone is requesting a rezone to residential, it's a residential lot, so anything that would be allowable in residential zoning district would be allowable on that lot, which is essentially a home and accessory buildings. So Morton County changed our regulations, and I can't remember what year it was, I think it was 2 years ago. We allow an accessory dwelling unit by right on every conforming lot in Morton County if it's not in a hazard area, like a flood hazard area, and they have to apply to Planning and Zoning Office to get permission to construct an accessory dwelling, but the maximum would be 2. If they want to build more, that would be a subdivision. They have to come through this board for permission, and they would each need their own lot. So, does that answer your question?
Okay, last call for the hearing. All right, I'll close the hearing.
Can I ask a
Thoughts?
question?
Yep, go ahead.
So the lot 1 is where the house is gonna go, Natalie?
I'm just gonna make sure, yes, lot 1 is the small lot, 3 acres, that would be the rezoned to residential. And then lot 2 is the larger agricultural, it just stays agricultural.
But there is a possibility they could split that some more.
No,
No? Okay.
it's 35 acres.
35 acres?
They'd have to
But
come
could-
back for a subdivision
Subdivision,
approval.
okay, okay.
Yeah.
Other thoughts from the commission?
If it were 70 acres, they could split it in half by right through an exempt plat, but it's too small to split again.
Ready for a motion?
I move to recommend approval of the final plat of the short-term subdivision known as Becker subdivision and a zoning map amendment from agricultural to residential for Lot 1 only, as the subdivision conforms to the regulations established in Article 7 of the Morton County Land Use Code and conforms to land use priorities established in the 2045 Comprehensive Plan.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Let's see, item number 6.
Our next item is the Cloverleaf subdivision. This is in the southeast quarter of Section 34, Township 139 North, Range 82 West, located about 3/4 of a mile southwest of the Mandan landfill. So we have Mandan landfill is here, come down and come out here. And the public right-of-way ends essentially at the end of this subdivision, so they've dedicated that 50 feet for that corridor on the bottom south end of the subdivision. This is 9.16 acres, dividing that residential lot from the quarter section. This would be the second buildable lot in that quarter. So there is an existing home on that property. It is served by a well and Morgan Sioux Power. Missouri West Water they have a line fairly close to here, so someday maybe they could attach into that, but they do have a functioning well at this time. So staff is recommending approval of the short form subdivision and rezoning, and I can take any questions.
Are there any questions for Natalie? Okay, not seeing any, I'll go ahead and open the public hearing if there's anyone that would like to speak. Second call for the hearing. Third and final call. And I'll close the hearing. Ready for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to recommend approval of the final plat of the short form subdivision known as Cloverleaf subdivision and a zoning map amendment from agricultural to residential as the subdivision conforms to the regulations established in Article 7 of the Morton County Land Use Code and conforms to the land use priorities established in the 2045 Comprehensive Plan.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Our next item is a telecommunications tower application from Great Plains Tower LLC. This is in the northeast quarter of Section 28, Township 138 North, Range 81 West. This is located, so we have Maverick Estates subdivision. It's all in yellow. We have a Morgan Sioux substation here, and then the tower site is an 80 by 80 foot leased area here. Mandan Airport is about a mile up to the north. So they're proposing a 190-foot tower and then an 8-foot lightning rod. When I was looking at setbacks, I'm just assuming tower height would be with the lightning rod. So their setbacks, or the setbacks in our code that are required are 1.25 times tower height from any non-residential structure or right-of-way. So that'd be 247.5 feet. And from any residential structure, the setback is 1.75 times tower height, which would be 346.5 feet. And the plan well exceeds those setbacks. I apologize, I didn't include in the pre-meeting packet a copy of their letter from the FAA. I did put it in your printed packet, I believe. They had gotten that letter from the FAA on April 22nd of this year, which was a determination of no hazard to aircraft based on the height and distance. In terms of noise, they are not planning to put a generator on site. Once they get a tenant, the tenant may install one, but that would be for backup power only. You have this in your packet, but this is just showing setbacks. So this is 282 feet to the right-of-way, which exceeds 247, and then well over that to residential structures on the north side of the road, and then the closest one is even further. It's off the diagram, so it's quite a ways away in terms of at least meeting setbacks. So staff is recommending approval of the special use permit with that limitation on height of 198 feet. And I can take any questions. I guess I will say the applicant representing the application is online, and when we do the public hearing, I guess it might make sense to have him explain a couple things first.
Chairman Natalie, is this a multi-use tower?
Like most cell towers these days.
I mean, they could have different clients using that,
Yep.
that tower.
Yep.
Correct. Yep. Hi, everybody, this is Chris. I contract for Verizon and the cell tower building company. I can take any questions and if you have any.
Thanks, Chris. Yeah, we'll, I guess, get through our board questions to Natalie, then I'll give you the
I'm
mic
sorry.
first. No, that's
Yep.
okay. Yep. Any questions for Natalie from the board? Anything for Natalie? Okay, I'll go ahead and open the public hearing and give you the microphone first, Chris.
Sure. Natalie asked me to maybe explain a little bit more, a couple of items of concern I think a few public members had. One of them was a health concern. Basically, for cell towers, the FCC, the cell towers' emission of radio frequency signals are far less than the FCC limit even is. Typically, it's 0.001% to 1% of the FCC public limit. And it's often 100 to 100 or to 10,000 times below the allowable exposure, and it's often frequently lower than your Wi-Fi or your FM radio signals inside your home. What was another one, Natalie? What was it?
And as people come up, I guess during the public hearing and have questions, then maybe Chris can answer them, more technical
Yeah,
questions at the end.
Yeah, Chris, so do you have any, I guess you want to share anything else now, or should I move on and see if questions come up?
Yeah, we can move on to other questions as they come up. I can certainly try to answer them.
Perfect. Thanks, Chris. Okay, so public hearing is open. If there's anyone in the room that would like to speak, yeah, come on up to the podium. Yeah, and please state your name when you get to the podium.
My name is Wesley Hart. I am a resident in Maverick Estates and did some looking into this and do want to share some health-related concerns, some studies that have been done. And I know that the one, what our friend there shared is kind of the standard thing that's usually talked about. But there are numerous studies that show there are some effects from these towers in relation to proximity. Some of them have pointed out issues like headaches, memory problems, dizziness, depression, sleep problems. Beyond that, there have been cancer-related issues. The Massachusetts Board of Health put out a handbook with a chapter on RF-related health concerns. And it cites some international studies on increased cancer risks near the cell towers, including a German study, which reported over 3 times higher cancer rates within 400 meters of a tower. That's approximately 1,300 feet. There was an Israeli study that showed a 10-fold increase of cancer risk for women within 350 meters of the cell tower. That's a little closer, a little higher risk. There was an Austrian study that linked RF exposure to a 23-fold higher increase in breast cancer risk and 121-fold higher brain cancer risk. Now, they don't tell proximity in that from what I gleaned that somebody reported. There's a Science of Total Environment, which is some group or study, that found increased tumor-related deaths within 500 meters of a base station in Brazil. 500 meters is around 1,620 or 40 feet, something like that. So there are risks. It's been shown in other areas. I don't think in America we've done any real in-depth studies on this other than minimal short-term things at most. Not sure about that, but that's the impression I get. Insurance companies talk about potential risk, and I think they avoid insuring anything for that. The cell companies like Verizon and AT&T and all those companies reference the risk liabilities in annual reports to their investors, basically saying that could have a financial impact on them should that develop. Business Insider referenced the risk and likened it to the next asbestos. So there are risks. The issue is proximity. And what I'm speaking to is I believe this is way too close to a housing division in reference to or understanding these kinds of studies that are out there that have been done in other countries. And many of them have lowered the level of what they put out as far as the RF signal. And some of the charts I've seen suggest it's way lower than what we do in our country to try to mitigate risk. I have 2 or 3 different things. Some of them may overlap. I can leave with the board members if you want. There's a lot of stuff in here, and I don't want to necessarily get extensive in any of that. But it seems to me that taking this into account, the proximity is way too close to a residential area. There seem to be potential risk. And what would a reasonably prudent person do? You could say, and some could argue, the risks are low, and maybe some of these studies have found it. Maybe we don't know the final answers. But I could drive to town 1,000 times in my car and never have a bad accident. So the risks are low. I could say, why do I need a seatbelt? Why do I need to put my kids in a car seat? Except it's the law, but apart from that. But a reasonably prudent person would take more cautionary measures. And you'd wear the seatbelt because there could be that one time in 1,000 or 5,000 that you have an accident bad enough to cause real damage. So I feel like we need to think about these potential concerns that have been studied in other parts of the world. And, those of us that live there, it's not like the tower was already there and we could move in and go, okay, wait a minute, do I want to live that close? We're already there. And you as a board are determining to put something close, and we have no choice in that. So my feeling is, from everything I've looked at, that in an abundance of caution, rather than putting us at potential risks that may really develop as we understand even more about it, that in an abundance of caution, we should deny this request, that the proximity should be quite a bit further away from this housing division. And there's lots of various aspects of health effects that have been studied and found, and I don't want to take all the time here on that, but those are my concerns, and my recommendation is against approving this permit for that particular area due to potential concerns that have been proven some places, and also it's a proximity issue, and I believe it is way too close to where we live.
Thanks, Wesley.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for your time.
Christina Crane, been here a few times. Wore the right shirt today, evidently, for this one. I just have a question. I know that the FAA has approved this. Did we talk to the Mandan flight board, the airport board? I mean, I as a pilot, I fly the pattern. Let's just say, when you learn to fly, you learn what height is, and that's a lot higher than you'd like to think. And since Mandan Airport is teaching flight lessons, I feel like It's not very far from the airport. It is almost in the pattern. Have we talked with them? That's my question.
Thanks, Christina.
Chairman Kiss and Commissioners, my name is Matt Whale. I also live in Maverick Estates. I have a few questions of myself. So I work in the telecom industry. Been working for about 6-7 years, and did a little bit of fact finding regarding the height, and I know that FAA approved saying no hazards. Is this tower going to be lighted due to the close proximity that it is to the airport? According to just some rough guesstimations, I did an FCC tower determination results, and it says this structure requires FAA notification and FCC registration based on a check of coordinates, heights, and structure type as details below. One or more of the determination results produced a fail slope result, which means registration is required. Now I understand that they went through FAA and they gave the blessing from FAA, but is this tower going to be lighted to where it might have some light nuisance upon Maverick Estates, as well as I do have questions and concerns about exposure. It is a thing. And like I said, I work in the telecom industry. It is a thing. So that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt.
Did you want me to answer the lighted question?
Let's save it for the end. Chris, I'm kind of jotting things down too that would go to you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? And if there's anybody online, go ahead and unmute as well. Go ahead.
My name is Steve Crane. I also live in the Maverick Edition. Where this tower would go would be, if I stand in my backyard, there it is. I look at the subdivision that's there, but it was there. But now another tower. And airplanes do quite a bit of traffic in their training, and I am a pilot. And we also have the military helicopters that fly around there quite a bit, and they can get a little bit low sometimes. So between the lighting and how much noise this thing might make, you know, does it buzz? I don't know. I've never been close to one. So just things like that, but even though the FAA blessed it, I think it could be a hazard to pilots. So that's all I got to say.
Thanks, Steve. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Yep, go ahead, Wesley.
One other thing, and I don't know the answer to this. I tried to look this up a little bit, and I got two different answers, but ham radio is a public service. It's a hobby, but it's a public service thing, and we happen to have one in our subdivision at where I live. And I'm not sure if this would create some interference. I've read some things that say there could be issues, some say not. It's just a question that I don't know the answer to, but it would be nice if, well, number one, I'm against locating it there. But I think that could be another issue. I'm not 100% sure about that. I'm just raising it as a potential thing.
Thanks, Wesley. Okay, is there anyone else that would like to speak? Do second to last call. Final call for the hearing. Okay, and I'll close the hearing. Chris, with it closed, though, I will let you just respond to the questions that came up from the public hearing.
Mr. Chairman,
yeah.
Before Chris, can we have that, maybe Chris can speak to this as well. What about the height of the wind towers compared to the height that is here? And I think the wind towers have lights on top of them too, all of them. So, when you look at that, and then they're all over the place, how does this compare when you compare this particular tower to the issues of the wind towers as well?
I'm not an expert on wind towers, I apologize. I just work in the cell tower business, but I do know those blades can go a lot higher than the top of the tower. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, that's why they must all have a blinking, because there's a blade and there's no blade, there's a blade, there's no blade, that type of thing. Don't quote me though. Again,
Chris, I'll interrupt you just for 1 second. We just had a Public Service Commission meeting about a wind tower fire going in western Morton County, and there's 600 feet.
Okay, then anything over 200 feet requires a light per FAA rules. Just a heads up on that. And then regarding noise, with no generator on site, the noise will be extremely minimal. Regarding any other local healthcare studies, the American Cancer Society, I believe their quote is, at this time, there's no strong evidence that the exposure to RF waves from cell phone towers cause any noticeable health effects. Again, the ground level radio frequency exposure near towers is hundreds of thousands of times below FCC limits. And the U.S. agencies, the FCC, FDA, and NTP, have not classified RF from towers, radio frequency from towers, as a known probable carcinogen. Regarding ham radio, basically the RF engineers at Verizon, these cell towers are on their own frequency, so there should be no other devices on that frequency. If so, you may be in trouble.
5G, that's the latest standard.
But typically, they carve out frequencies per, FM radio for cell towers, for emergency services, that type of thing. So there should be no interference. If that makes sense. Was that basically all of them? Or was there another one I missed?
Thanks, Chris. Yeah, you covered pretty much everything I had written down. I guess one remaining question is whether or not there was coordination directly with the Mandan Airport.
I have to go backtrack on that one, guys. I took this job over from someone, so I would have to go find out. I assume he did reach out to the local airport commission there. I will have to double check.
Thanks, Chris.
Yep.
Okay, so with that, I guess I had already closed the hearing, but totally closed now. So I guess, Natalie, one question I have, and you seem to have all these items with potential health impacts, and you can battle studies all night. But one question I do have is, is there any rationale on the placement of the tower? I mean, it seems to be on a large parcel. I don't know if that is the parcel owner also the resident to the south, or is that a separate parcel that's Tree Rose Crossing?
No, it is a separate parcel.
So it's just a standalone?
Yeah,
Okay.
so I'm gonna go out on a limb and make a inference, or I'm guessing. So every foot of your maintenance road costs money. So when I looked at this, I also was like, wow, this is really close to a subdivision. Wouldn't it make sense to put it further southwest? But I'm guessing, you put it as close to the road as you can. And I should say, we did have a cell tower application. Granted, that was way further down south. No residences even close. And they put that literally to the foot, as we may recall, to the setback that was required. This is a number of additional feet beyond what our minimum is for a setback requirement, and I'm going by just standards in the code. They have met the standards in the code. And I guess Chris could maybe speak to the reason for the placement, but that would be my guess.
Yep. Basically, Verizon engineers, based on current capacity and usage and demand, they will, set the point geographically in correspondence in relation to other towers 4G can go 6 to 8 miles on a nice flat surface. 5G is 1 mile. This will not be a 5G tower. I don't know if you have a 5G tower there. I'm guessing not. So basically, it's based on supply and demand. That's the old adage. So the demand is growing. This would be the best place for it. And the engineers basically put a ring on a map with a mile circumference, or give or take, and then, find suitable land for such tower.
And I think that piece of land, I have, I did have a picture of the site. I think it slopes, so this is probably a little bit higher up than if you put it further south and west.
And I guess
we do include planning and zoning stakeholders on all the meeting packets I send out, and the airport manager is on that list. I didn't hear anything from her.
Are they on all of the lists or only the lists that pertain?
No, so
to that?
I have a set, like a
Sure.
standing list, and, I can imagine maybe people get packet
So
fatigue.
every month
Every
they get
month
a
I send
packet,
it to the
so-
same list of people.
Okay.
Well, then I would, Mr. Chairman, it's their job to read their email, to check that, to see when they get a notice from the zoning that there could be a conflict, so we can't be babysitting them. They're adults, that's what they do for their job, so. But maybe Chris can check to see.
Come again? Check what?
You can check the
I missed that.
airport to see if they've been contacted.
Yes. Yes. Thanks.
Mr. Chairman, just a couple years back, when we went through the 5G technology, I remember there was quite an outcry and quite a concern with the 5G technology that towers are going to have to be a lot closer together and be in residential areas, and they're going to be all over the place. And I remember hearing a lot about, well, these particular 5G towers are going to emit more weight, they're going to cause problems, there's going to be many other type of health concerns here that I hear tonight with this here as well. And up to this point in time, I've never really heard any follow-up as to what the 5G towers have done or not done. I don't know, but I just remember that there was one, issue there, or a number of issues with those particular towers as well.
And Mr. Chairman, I did just get a text back from the airport manager. And she basically doesn't make her own personal assessment. The FAA, she leaves it up to the FAA. She said they made their determination, so there it is. And that 198 feet is not that tall. I think in terms of thinking about FAA and concern with those regulations, again, they don't have lighting for towers under 200 feet.
Yeah, I think ultimately in cases like this, we aren't the experts, so we rely on Mandan Airport and the FAA.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Other thoughts from the board? Natalie, this is the only hearing for this?
Correct.
Single hearing, right?
With the SUPs, we just do one.
Yep.
Unless, sometimes when it's big and complicated, we continue it, but usually for smaller ones, we
Sure.
would just do one.
Thanks. Any thoughts from the board? Andy, if you ever have anything to add, jump in. Natalie, do we have other examples of towers this close to rural subdivisions?
I'm trying to, I was looking on my map and I can't get it when I'm not on a desktop to get Google to drop the little person. But I know there's a radio tower up by the county shop, and I believe there's a cell tower up there too. I mean, right in the residential neighborhood.
Certainly in town, right?
Yeah, very close to many houses.
So Natalie, how far is it like off of 46th then? Or can Chris tell us that? Does it say?
It's like 282
From 46th?
from the right of way. 282 feet.
Yeah,
Okay.
so it's
Okay.
282 feet, and our standard would be 247, so they exceed that by quite a number of feet. And you've got an existing substation that's even closer than the tower. Granted, those are different types of electromagnetic frequency and, yeah.
Right, so on the one hand, I mean, proximity to a substation seems to, make maybe some efficiency sense there in terms of impact. Yeah, I mean, certainly in town, you have these things close to residences all the time. Maybe in a rural subdivision like this, it does feel like it's
strange.
Well, it's maybe too, like, there's a lot of space to, get the setback, maybe accommodate some of those uncertainties. So I guess I mean that without necessarily taking a stand, just saying, there's plenty of room to have 500, 1,000 feet of setback, so maybe it's too bad that it's just a few hundred feet from homes.
Yeah, I think our sense of distance is really different when you get out in the more rural area versus in town. Just your sense of how far is far is calibrated really differently.
Certainly.
Yeah.
Other thoughts from the board? Thoughts, questions? Anybody want to make a motion?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, in looking at this, what I understand then, as far as this location, they have met the legal context of it, is that correct, Natalie? There's nothing here to...
They've met our requirements that are
all
in the
requirements are
code.
met. The
Yeah.
issue that we're facing, whether or not we pay any attention to the potential, health hazard, or that for some reason this board would feel it'd be inappropriate for that to be in this particular location, and we should have to have some justification for that. Do I stand to reason here?
Yep.
Other thoughts from the board?
I'll just say that I agree with Dennis.
course, we're not the final arbitrators here, it still goes to the county commission as well.
Did you find a motion in your thing, your packet? I can't
Natalie,
find it.
did you provide a motion on this one, or?
I can't find the motion.
Oh, gosh, I'm sorry.
Wing it.
I can wing it, but I was want to make sure I get the right terminology.
Have Andy write it.
Huh?
Have Andy write it.
Yeah, I think I ended up printing the version that didn't have the staff report in it. Sorry, guys. So it would just be, let's see, what would your reasons be? That it meets the requirements in section 5-190 of our land use code? That would be
Section 5.
-190. That it meets all of those requirements. And then add the condition that it doesn't exceed 198 feet total with the lightning rod. I don't think they'd want to exceed that anyway, because then they get over their 200 feet. And that any generator would be for backup power only. That would be the second condition.
And it's okay if we can call it Stastny Cell Tower Special Use Permit?
Sure. Yeah, it doesn't really matter what you call it, because we'll associate it with location. You can say location as presented.
Okay. Okay, so Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve the Stastny Cell Tower Special Use Permit because it complies with all the specifications in our land use code in section 5-190 with the conditions that the tower will not exceed 198 feet and the generator will be used for backup power only.
I'll second. A vote.
Motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
Do we need to include that lightning portion, that lightning rod portion?
It's fine. It just, the whole tower can't exceed 198 feet.
Any discussion? Okay, I will call the roll. Braun.
Yes.
Berger's absent. Rohr.
Yes.
Tomac.
Yes.
Wald.
No.
Zachmeyer.
Yes.
L.
Yes.
Buckley.
Yes.
And I vote yes. Motion carries.
Our next item is the second time that we are hearing the North Plains Connector multiple requests. This is in the southwest quarter of Section 2, Township 135 North, Range 84 West. The applicant is North Plains Connector LLC. This site is located about 5 miles north of Flasher. This site is a quarter section, 160.61 acres. They're requesting a subdivision to divide that into 2 pieces. So it would be lots 1 and 2. This is lot 2, this is lot 1. So lot 1, the second request would be for rezoning to industrial. That would be the site that they're gonna put the transmission or interconnect on. And then request for special use permit for the energy conversion facility, and then a variance for height. A little later in our agenda, or actually the last item, is bringing forward changes to our use table so that we would limit, or take off the limit on height for industrial in general, because because this came in now, they have to ask for a variance on the height. So those 4 things. The items that were really left to review, there was a request from this board for the stormwater waiver. So they submitted their formal letter talking about hardship. That should be in your packet. The county engineer did provide his written approval of a waiver for that stormwater plan so that that could come. It certainly has to be submitted a full stormwater management plan that complies with our standards before there's any site modification that's done. And then the applicant did provide a sound study, a cursory sound study based on the manufacturer's proprietary specifications for the equipment that would be used on a like project. So, modeling a like project that would be similar to this one. So that is also in your packet. So the 2 closest residences to this facility are about 3/4 of a mile away. So the sound contours ended up 50 decibels at the county road, and then 43.6 decibels at the tree row of this closest residence. So presumably it would be similar at the residence that's also roughly 3/4 of a mile away. And then the next closest residences are each a mile roughly away. So those are the 2 pieces of information that were requested by this board. I would imagine the applicants, I know they're here. Do you guys have a presentation, or are you just answering questions? Questions, okay, yep, so.
It went so well last time.
So staff is recommending approval of all 4 of the requests, and then I have conditions that are in your packet, and they're long, so if you want to just reference and say as presented, or if you want to add more, you can do that. And then I can take any questions the board may have.
Are there any questions for Natalie?
Mr. Chair, I do have one. So in regards to the noise study, can you just state for the record, like, how this compares to some of the other noise stuff that we've been looking at?
Yep. So by comparison, like state law for wind turbines, as an example, their standard is 45 decibels. And I think that's at a non-participating landowner's property line. I don't know if it applies to right-of-ways. So my apologies, I don't have that. But, so that would be one comparison in terms of our standards, like that we made for direct air capture and that we're doing for data centers. We base it not on a set standard, but on increments above ambient. So we don't have a number.
Right.
But I guess I would say 43 at a neighboring residence, or, at the tree row, that would certainly fall within what the state, has kind of said is reasonable for noise, at least in that respect.
Yep, just wanted to reiterate that.
Yep. And that landowner, the applicants have been in communication with that landowner. I think they are either probably very close to coming up with an agreement. So the idea is that landowner would be participating. And they could probably speak to what the status of that is.
Sure.
Other questions for Natalie? Okay, not seeing any, I will open the public hearing if there's anyone that would like to speak. Second call for the hearing. Third and final call, and I'll close the hearing. All right. Discussion or ready for motion?
Ready? Okay, I'll read the motion. Here, there's a lot to say. Move to recommend approval of final plat of the long form subdivision, a zoning map amendment from agricultural to industrial on lot 1 only, and a special use permit for an energy conversion facility as presented, as the site is located in a remote area and is compatible with surrounding agricultural land uses with the following conditions. Applicant must submit to Morton County a complete stormwater management plan that meets the approval of the county engineer before the applicant will be allowed to begin grading the site and before the applicant will be allowed to obtain a building permit. Number 2, applicant must execute a road use agreement that meets the approval of the county engineer before the applicant will be allowed to begin grading the site and before the applicant will be allowed to obtain a building permit. Number 3, project construction must begin within 5 years of issuance of the special use permit, or the special use permit is void without further action of the Board of County Commissioners, subject to the zoning administrator's ability to grant extensions of 2 months for good cause shown in writing. Construction means clearing of vegetation, excavation, or other substantial physical alteration of the land. Number 4, prior to issuance of a building permit and prior to construction, the applicant must submit an emergency operations plan that meets the approval of the county emergency manager. And finally, number 5, all outdoor lighting must be shielded to be directed toward the ground and contained within the defined site boundary.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
What do we need motion 2 for?
Do we not?
Ready for
I don't think we need it.
motion 2?
Natalie, do we need 2 motions on this?
Oh, sorry. Yes,
The
for the
building height?
variance.
Oh, this
Yeah.
is for the variance.
I move to recommend approval of a variance requested to exceed the building height maximum in the industrial zone and to allow the valve hall to be constructed to a height not to exceed 100 feet, as industry standard equipment required for the project cannot be accommodated in a structure that meets the 50-foot height maximum established in the Morton County Land Use Code for the industrial zoning district, and the project cannot be constructed at all without the height variance.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Oh.
All right, motion carries.
Sorry, Andy.
Okay,
We had a
back to you,
quorum.
Natalie.
We had a quorum anyway. Okay. Our next item is Meadows off Highway 6 subdivision. I'm not going to go through this again. This is the third, or I lost count, at least third time that we've heard this. Staff was directed to get a state's attorney's opinion about whether or not 3-040 of the land use code applies in this situation. The opinion was that yes, it does apply. The setback should be taken from the boundary of the lot upon which the pond sits, which is what DEQ, that's how they measure setbacks. So that would be setback measured from the boundary of this lot. So the required setback is a half mile, so the kind of frosty shaded area is that half mile. So this little corner is not in that half mile setback. That little corner, when I measure it in GIS, trying to be careful about how I'm measuring, is 1.47 acres. So that is not even big enough to meet a minimum lot size for Morton County, whether it's, so commercial lot, our minimum is 80,000 square feet. Minimum for a residential lot is 46,000. Oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank. 65,000.
Basically 1.5 acres.
Yes, 1.5. So it doesn't meet either of those sizes. But part of the opinion was, certainly the applicant can apply for a variance. The applicant did not apply for a variance, so here we have the item before us with the state's attorney's opinion. They did submit a formal request for stormwater waiver, citing their hardship. That is in your packet, and the county engineer provided his written approval for a stormwater waiver. So those are the two things I think we needed to bring back. So based on that, not having a variance request in front of us, staff is recommending denial of the application based on just applying our odor setback. And I can take questions.
Are there any questions for Natalie? Natalie, maybe just one comment I'll make on the stormwater part. And I guess, not going to make a big fuss about it, but just going forward, because it was approved. So the statement of hardship being a financial burden with uncertainty or with a lack of certainty in county approval. Mm-hmm. So my concern there would be the precedent that would apply to every time this board has ever seen a stormwater plan. Mm-hmm. So, I guess in terms of statements of hardship, moving forward, I think we should be cautious or change our code, because if we define hardship as something unique, right, mm-hmm. then we would never see a stormwater management plan. So,
yes.
And Mr. Chair, Natalie, just to echo Jesse's comment, like if we're holding other developments to a certain standard, we need to hold all of them to the same standard. We can't change based on things like that.
Yep. I think, this is a bit to readjust our code. I think residential subdivisions, that makes sense because what your averages are for houses, ancillary structures. That's pretty predictable. When you have engineered buildings that have a lot more detail in engineering, not even just in doing the stormwater plan, but in engineering like the facility or the building, I think we should probably move toward like a two-part approval process where we have site plan review. Many jurisdictions have a phase for site plan review, and I think we might be at that point where we probably should be doing that, for commercial industrial type projects. So, yeah, I mean.
Yeah, no, I certainly agree. I think a site plan review solves a lot of that, kind of like the previous applicant.
Yep.
I think they did have as we discussed last time, good reason
Yep.
for a waiver.
Yep.
Even then, we had a preliminary stormwater plan that we could have provided feedback on.
Yes.
And so in this case, and I'm just using this at this point as an example, at the very least, I'd like for this board to still see something with
A
some assumptions that we
preliminary.
can give feedback on.
Yes.
And a final later, because
Yep.
otherwise we just don't get to see it, provide feedback. The public doesn't get to provide input on that, so.
Yeah, 100%.
I think we'll work on it.
And you'll see too, I adjusted in the data center ordinance, adjusted this again just for discussion, where it would be that type of thing. We're doing more of a site plan review later, where they have to submit a prelim, sort of preliminary stormwater, just to demonstrate that you can accommodate flows on the site based on what you want to do, and then you do all the detailed work later. I think that would be a good way to do it for most commercial industrial, like you say, some kind of prelim and then your detail later, and have that two-phase process, so, yeah.
Cool, thanks. Okay, any other discussion, questions for Natalie?
Mr. Chair, I do have one more question for Natalie. Just to be clear, Natalie, you did ask or check in to see if there was going to be a variance request submitted or not?
I encouraged the applicant to submit a variance request.
Okay.
And they did not.
Okay, just making sure we got that straight.
Yes. And I did put it in the packet, but I do want to make that note. I guess from everything I know of land use law, this item in our code is pretty much a regulatory taking. However, that's just my opinion. However, I can see the point in having a process where you submit a variance to not follow that part of the code, just so that you have it on record that your use has voluntarily moved towards a nuisance, so that you have no standing later to make nuisance claims. That I understand, and that wouldn't then be a taking, because there's some administrative way to get through that part of the code. And I think there's a valid reason to have a process to say we're moving towards a nuisance and we accept the risk that comes with it. So, just want to make that statement. Which is again why I encouraged the applicant to make that variance application, and they did not.
Natalie, with this, not being the only animal feeding operation in the county, just kind of thinking about it, like, there's the variance process, but in my mind, maybe these types of locations or those variance processes are better suited for like the special use permit process as well, where we have, in the absence of site plan reviews, at least right now, as we've discussed, we really don't know what goes to a place with rezoning, whereas with the SUP process, there's more ability to define what that is, and the board, the county, to kind of give feedback on what it is.
For sure. And I guess when I say variance, they could ask for a variance to not follow a subdivision and rezoning process and instead follow a SUP process, which would kind of stray from their use, but you know what I'm saying? That would be one thing to ask for, I guess. When I say variance, I just mean specifically to this odor setback issue, which could be a variance from rezoning, from SUP, from any zoning entitlement to allow something to happen there. Because the way that our code is worded, they literally can't do anything on that property, can't build a house, can't have a business, can't do anything, can't even have a feedlot, because state law prohibits them from locating a feedlot on that property because there's houses that are too close. All they can do is farm it, and it's not really tillable. So, I mean, it's a difficult situation.
So in the county's view, are the approximately 2 existing entitlements voided out, or because there's no process?
When you say existing entitlements, which ones?
Residential entitlements on 70
Oh,
plus
sure.
acres. So I guess
Yep.
that's just a genuine
Yeah.
question, because we're not, it wouldn't, for that, or 1 or 2
Yeah,
homes,
and
it doesn't go through a process.
I guess I have to say, the county has not to this point denied anybody a building permit based on this odor setback. And we do have 2 examples
Sure, yeah.
in this
yeah.
location where the county has allowed a house to go in since that time. So on the south property, so down here, we have a mobile home that got permitted in 2019. You know, it's kind of right on the edge. There was no discussion about, you know, odor setback. There was a shop that was put here, but again, we don't mention shop in the ordinance, so you could have a shop, but not for commercial use, you know, just a shop. So that was built in 2023. So those are the 2 structures that were allowed to go in, you know, since the feedlot was there. But I think, yeah, we've never stopped somebody, and I think we've had that discussion, like where somebody had, I've been here for so long, I feel like way back in my memory, there was some instance of somebody wanting to build a house, like have a single lot subdivision near a feedlot. But yeah, we haven't stopped anybody from voluntarily moving towards a feedlot with a house.
Other discussion from the board? Questions for Natalie? Maybe switch back to Andy and Natalie. Any questions for now, Andy?
No, I have no questions. About the only way anything can be put on that property is by variance. And then you use that a variance is nothing more than a minimal easing of the rules, which would mean that any type of commercial structure or anything would have to still go in that northwest corner. And it would still be difficult to do anything there. The variance tool is the only tool that would be available, and I agree with the state's attorney's letter.
Thanks, Andy. All right, anything else from the board? Okay, so before we get into the public hearing, I'm going to do my best to time everybody. Let's limit it to, I'm going to do 3 minutes. I'm just going to put my paper in the air, and let's try to be respectful of everybody's time. Third go around, let's try to limit to maybe brief reiterations, new thoughts, new comments, and single trips to the podium. So with that, though, I will open it. And let's keep it respectful. It's the last thing.
I did last time, didn't I?
Everybody did, I think, yeah. So this group has been good. Sometimes it's...
So, are we done here, or what's the deal? I mean, but I guess a question for you, Natalie, where did you start the half-mile radius at?
So the boundary of your southern.
I know, but on the very north end of it, where the feedlot starts?
The whole square.
Yeah.
It goes out from the whole square. So that
Okay.
Well, you've all heard, I'm not gonna stay up here a long time, you've all heard why I've been so set against this. It's just, I'm worried what'll happen to my place with 500 people running around out there. They wanna build 32 cabins, people staying overnight there, partying all night long. Fire breaks out at 2 in the morning, it could burn us all out, I'm just looking out for my land, my equipment, my buildings, my family. I don't want to be caught in a fire or caught in, and it's just not a matter of if it's going to happen, it's just when. I mean, it's salt prairie out there, rock and prairie. And I guess with that, I just want you to know how I feel about it. And with another thing, what's a variance? I mean,
Just permission to not follow the rules, essentially.
they can build anything they want on there.
No, they would have to have a various.
It would be on that 1.67 acres, or?
Let me just explain this for everybody. Okay, so when a variance request comes in, you have to have a very specific request. You say exactly what you would do, or you say specifically a variance to get a commercial zoning, whatever it is. We don't write a blank check to anybody for zoning. It'd have to be a specific request, and then that variance would have to get approved or modified, approved as presented or approved as modified by the board. But it's always the county commission that makes that decision.
So, then the half-mile setback is for naught, or what?
So basically, the request would be to not have to follow that half-mile setback, but again, that's somebody going on record saying, we're moving towards a nuisance, and we're not, that essentially takes away their standing to bring some nuisance claim, because they've said, we're voluntarily moving towards the nuisance, if that makes sense.
So it means that if there was a event center put there, they could not complain about the odor. They would have no course of action to do that. That would be the example I will give you. If they received a variance.
Who gives them a variance? You guys?
County Commission.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Chad.
Name's Jason Crane, and just have the property adjacent to the west side of this proposed area. And I brought up before the importance of the two approaches for your ingress and egress and your safety that way, and how you're not allowed another one in that area because there's already too many approaches to get in and out of this, in and out of their land. And the safety issue on May 13th, there was a truck that actually burst into flames right at the south line of this property. And that day there was a 30-mile-an-hour wind out of the south-southeast. And I was at my shop and I turned around and saw this blowing, and it was like, this could be really bad. It's like, they talked about the chances of the worst case scenario in fires and whatnot. The only reason that didn't spread that day is because that grass was like 4 inches tall and it was lush green. But I mean, it would have swept all the way across, and I mean, it probably took rural fire a good 20 minutes to get there, and I mean, we'd have been covered at that point. So just the fact that it doesn't have enough approaches and can't have them, and safety is a huge issue. So, thank you.
Thanks, Jason.
Hi, I'm Frank Thomas. Sorry, I just come from the field here, so not very presentable. But the variance codes, is that not an issue no more?
Let me speak to that, because I mentioned that's a question for everybody. They have not submitted a variance, so we're not examining any consideration of a variance because it has not been applied for. What has been applied for and what we're reviewing is the request that was submitted 2 months ago for a subdivision and a rezoning. That's all that's being considered tonight, because that's all that was requested. I mean, if they wanted to come forward at some future point in time, you know, they can ask for a variance later. You know, it's not like they can't do that, but it has not been requested, so it's not being reviewed.
So, on the letter that we got, the last paragraph from the state's attorney was kind of vague to me about leaving it up to you guys to change the variance code, which it is a code before we started this, and I wouldn't know how that could get changed now. But then after looking into some stuff about with variance codes, who holds liability for something, a fire breaks out, and this code gets changed, who holds liability for a situation like this?
So the code doesn't get changed. The variance is just permission to not follow what's in the code. But again, that's not being requested. Fire hazards, that's all private insurance. The county, I mean, there's hazards everywhere. You know, culpability lies with, I mean, lightning can strike and fires can start. I mean, everybody has their own insurance, basically.
So, like Jason said with that fire, I mean, my son was out cutting grass that day, and he called me, I was down in the field, and I said, just time to see how long a fire truck got there. It was 23 minutes. Well, that was along a highway, and like Jason said, it was a green ditch. Back there where this stuff will all be, I mean, I get what Chad says. I mean, he's got a bunch of hay back there, and a fire responder can only respond so fast. But by the time they would have got there, if that wind would have been blowing over to his pile, he'd have been done. It would have been gone by there. You wouldn't have stopped it. And if you look at the liability, when I say it, like on some place like Chad's with what he's got there, I mean, there's millions of dollars worth of stuff there. You get over to my side, maybe not so much, but it's not even the event, it's the stuff that goes on there, like with these cabins. What is these cabins really gonna be used for? We're talking about all these data centers and stuff, and I can't say who can stay there or not, but anybody who stays there at night, we all know that they're not gonna sit in the dark in front of a cabin and not do nothing. They're gonna have a campfire. And these embers fly up in the air, and like I said, Chad's got more hay and stuff over there than we do that can, everybody knows, it's just, and we talked about this so many times already. I mean, but it's just, it is out, everybody wants to have a wedding or whatever it is out in the country. But agriculture was what founded this whole place, and that's where we're at there. I mean, why take that away from, make all of us that do this for a living have to worry about something like this, so maybe every weekend somebody can go and have fun. There's places for that, closer to town and stuff like that. But to take it away from us, it's just a lot of concern, and it's scary. But we all know when you got cabins and stuff, whether it's a man camp or whatever, it's what happens, so, thank you.
Thanks, Frank.
Christina Crane, my husband and I own the stuff right adjacent to the west. We've talked about safety, we've talked about a lot of things. I guess the biggest thing that hasn't been talked about is the fact that with this, I believe you guys said would have been the fourth, maybe, place to do an event center that hasn't come to fruition, and just rezoning it to commercial without knowing exactly what it's going to be, a special use permit, whatever you want to call it. It could turn into a man camp. It could turn into a Walmart. It could turn into a 7-Eleven. Then what happens when everyone around it has children? What happens? That's a lot we don't know. I mean, without knowing, I'm just going with all the other places that you guys brought up that have not come to fruition. One of them was last meeting. It went from the wedding venue to a residential, I guess now. And you all, I think Ms. Tomac asked what was going on with that one. But in general, any person in their right mind looking at this area with all the liability around it, with the cattle, the feedlots, horses, anything. It's not a good place to put people in and out multiple times a week and hundreds of people that think it's cool. It's just too much liability for one area.
Thanks, Christina.
Hi, I'm Paul Hartman. I'm right alongside the cranes up there. Ranner AJ's right beside me. I totally disapprove of this because it's just not the area for something like that. They've pretty much pointed out all the things that can happen here. I know the partying deal. I was there at one time. I know how that goes. And I have small children too, and it's for the safety of my family too there. So I'm not going to sit up here and ponder on it, but that's how I feel. I totally disapprove of it, and it's just where I'm at with it.
Thanks, Paul.
Lynn Guston, Rural Fire Chief. I just was going to clarify, and I'm not, we just lucked out that day. We actually did have a truck there within like 4 minutes, because at the present time, we have a brush truck stationed in my shop because we're running out of room where we're at. Luckily, my son was home, so he got there and got the ditch put out, but that didn't, the semi kept burning, probably did for the 23 minutes till we got there, whatever it was, but not trying to, say this, to defend anything. I was just going to clarify, as far as we did, luckily, that was a perfect world. Not all the time it's going to be that way. But so as far as fire concerns, but yeah, we did luck out and they just got in there with the brush truck and knocked the ditch down. Otherwise, it would have went, right, kept going there. We'd had a heck of a mess there, but just saying, but it's not going to be a truck all the time at my place, so it's just what it is. But yeah, luckily we did get there in time, but it was a perfect setting, but just so,
Thanks, Lynn.
Yeah.
Steve Crane, and I live in the Maverick Edition, and like I said before, I feel there's too many holes in this balloon. There's too many ifs, ands, buts, maybes, with all the planning, without anything that says, this is absolutely what's gonna go here. No questions about it, no ifs, ands, or buts. Once it's rezoned, throw it away, now I do what I want. I don't want the traffic, now it looks like I'm gonna get a tower. And I forgot to ask the question, what if this tower tips over and hits that subdivision powerhouse? What happens then? A fire. Look at our winds lately. Southeast, northwest 60-mile-an-hour winds, it's gone. Everything in the path is going to go, and it's going to go quickly. I have a neighbor that likes to light a pit. On windy nights, I can't believe the guy, but he does it. I go, really? They're firebugs. So at this point, I haven't said anything to him, but I think I will in the future, because it's going to get drier. Because the weather is getting hotter, and our moisture doesn't look real good for the summer. So with our winds, anything can happen. Anybody can hit a stone while they're farming, whatever it causes a fire to. That happens. But with the traffic, the people sitting outside at night, like he said, they're going to sit there with fires. Somebody's going to flip a cigarette. I used to smoke, and today cars don't have ashtrays in them. They don't have cigarette lighter in them. But even when they did, I seen people flip cigarettes out the window. I'm going, really? You got an ashtray in your car. You see them bounce down the road and down into the ditch. Well, that's just one thing. Where Chad and them live, one flip, millions of dollars down the tube. Lifetime work down the tube. There's too many holes in this balloon. I object for the rezoning and the wedding venue, whatever you want to call it. I oppose of it. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. All right, second to last call for the hearing.
My name's Norman Frederick, I'm the landowner. Natalie, can you put that map up? The one with the circle. Excuse me. Like I say, I'm Norm Frederick. My family has owned this land for 125 years. I don't care what everybody else does with their property. Don't come and tell me what I can do with mine. I had no say-so when the feedlot come in. Nobody did. It just came in there. Now everybody can tell me what I can do with my land. My land is this orange piece. This to the southwest is mine, and to the east side of the highways. It affects all three of my properties. I don't see how that can be just. I have no problem with you doing on your own land. Just don't be telling me what I can do on mine. Thank you.
Thanks, Norm. All right, last call for the public hearing. All right, hearing is closed. Oh, yeah, no, go ahead, Chuck. Sorry, I looked down too soon.
Commissioners, my name's Chuck Suki. We own the property just south of Chad's, the feedlot. And that's the family homestead, the 40 that he now runs cattle on. And I'm just curious, I mean, this is all new to me. I wasn't expecting this when I came here tonight. And the nuisance setback, the odor setback, I was not aware of that. And I've just been sitting back listening and thinking, and we got, when Chad built the feedlot, and this, nothing against personal at all, this is just how this is shaken out. And, but we got no notice of a feedlot going in. So how come it's like chicken and egg here, or egg and chicken, which is, why was there no notifications when the nuisance was introduced into our neighborhood? And now, I mean, I was, in the back of my head, I thought, well, if worse comes to worse, that 120 on the west side of the highway, that might make a nice retirement. But now I'm just sitting there listening, and I'm thinking, better rethink retirement. So I'm curious why in one way it was not, and now it is in the other way. And also I was involved in the comprehensive plan that was where we all went to the meetings and we put our little green stars on what we thought was important, or orange and yellow. And I left that meeting, and at the end of it, it was my understanding that the Highway 6 corridor was pretty much open territory, like free-range development. And I'm curious what happened to that notion. So I'm not saying one way or the other. I mean, Norman, and they've been great neighbors forever, and our parents as well. And so I don't want to see anything blow up into a fist fight or worse. But I think there needs to be some heartful analysis and explaining to be done. And that's, go going to be interesting to see what happens. So thank you for your service, and thank you.
Thanks, Chuck. Okay, I'll do another final call for the hearing. And I will close the hearing.
Mr. Chairman, should I answer that question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so so Morton County, in our land use code, we require feeding operations of 1,000 head or more to get a special use permit. And this one was 999, so they didn't have to get a local permit. They just got their permit from State Department of Environmental Quality, so that they don't give notices. Only if you get the local special use permit, then we notice and have a public hearing. But it didn't go through that process, so that's why you wouldn't have gotten a notice. That's the answer to that question. And then development along state corridors or hard surfaced right-of-ways, that is our policy for residential development, that essentially if we receive an application for residential development and it's within a half mile of a hard surface road, we don't automatically discount it, because on our map, the land use, future land use plan, we have designated areas where we want to prioritize residential development. But if there's a request for development outside those yellow areas and it's within a half mile of a hard surface road, we evaluate it on its merits. We don't automatically say it doesn't belong there. We didn't really say anything in the plan about commercial or industrial and where it goes, other than we have color on the map, purple for industrial, red for commercial, where it should go. And I guess, we could use the same logic and say we can evaluate, which is what we did in the last 3 hearings, kind of evaluate it on its merits, and then got a state's attorney's opinion and discovered this section of code that has this reverse odor setback. So that's the answer to that question.
Other discussion from the board?
Well, we have a suggested motion that's being made to this board, and I want everybody to understand here, this denial motion here is being made on one thing only, and that's the fact that the property lies within a half-mile odor setback, and that's the area there. We're not making this motion based upon any fire hazards, all the other things you mentioned, which have application, of course, but our duty up here is to look at the specifics of what meets the guidelines and rules here. And we have a suggested motion based upon that. Now, does it put the end to it? Maybe not. And then I think there could be other actions taken later on by the petitioner. Is that possible? If it still goes to the county too.
So if this gets denied, it will go to the county, and they'll evaluate it and either uphold that denial or send it back or whatever. The applicant can, at any time, so let's say the county commission denies something, if it's the exact same request, like it can't come back for a year. But if it's a different kind of request, it can come back. So potentially the applicant could, reapply in a different manner.
Go under different auspices.
Right, but if that's the case, then everyone would get a notice again.
Okay, yeah, so I just want to clarify where this motion is at. I move to recommend denial of the request for a zoning map amendment from agricultural to commercial in Lot 2 Meadows off Highway 6 subdivision as a property lies within the half-mile odor setback from feedlot established in Section 3-040 of the Morton County Land Use Code.
Second.
Second.
Motion by Dennis, seconded by Becky. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, just clarification, I didn't hear, is it a motion to deny?
It is, yep, on the basis of the odor setback, Andy.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any other discussion? Now, I guess just one thing I'm going to add, which is admittedly not really pertaining to the motion, but the question of existing entitlements, is that something, just given this question and, Chuck bringing up similar concerns. I mean, I do think this whole thing, like, it's worth maybe exploring so we better understand it in the future, but at least the entitlements, I mean, it seems like the answer was, well, it looks like we've permitted things in the past, but is there any certainty we could give even for this board going forward? Like, and I'm not asking for an answer now, just like.
You mean certainty about what?
Well, does it pertain to existing entitlements on those properties as well?
It should. Yeah, and I mean, I will fully admit, I have never opened our code to that page because we've never had to apply it, ever.
Sure.
In the 11 years I've been here.
So by it should, I mean, you're talking like an existing ag lot, like, or does that come into play when it goes through a subdivision process like this?
It would be it says residence.
Right.
So it would be if someone comes in and asks for a building permit for a house, we should deny them if we're following our code.
Okay.
We have never.
Or is it
in
an
the past.
interpretation of new residential entitlement versus, I mean, I know how it reads, and again, it's more of kind of a going forward, is there anything we need you to look at to understand?
This is such a big packet, I'm losing all my pages. I had it in here. Oh, here. So, an owner of property shall locate and establish a residence, business, church, school, public park, or zone for residential use so as to provide a separation distance from any existing animal feeding operation, a distance of not less than setback applicable to that operation. So the table, so residence, house.
Right.
Flat out, any residence, business, church, school, or residential zone for residential use, so no more residential zoning, et cetera.
Sure.
So he can't, if we're not engaging in selective enforcement, no one in that area is supposed to get a building permit for a house.
Sure.
But, Mr. Chair, so see, under 1, it says an owner of property who is an operator of the site from which the setback is established. Is that the odor setback?
So in other words, Chad, being the owner of that operation that creates the need for the setback, he can put whatever he wants wherever he wants.
Okay.
Because it's his, but everybody outside his property cannot.
I think.
So that's why. Part of our ordinance, I guess.
And I think this is something we really need to look at, because under North Dakota Century Code, an animal feeding operation is defined as a facility where animals are stabled or confined and fed for a total of 45 days or more in a 12-month period. That could be any barnyard over the winter.
Well, and we.
45 head, or it doesn't have a head. Anywhere animals are for 45 days. Any number of animals confined for 45 days.
So with this ordinance has specific animal units over a duration, right?
Right.
Yeah.
The code here is when we get over 300 animals. Right?
It's over 300.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of places that could be feeding 300 animals.
For sure.
But I guess, Mr. Chairman, we talked about that if Mr. Fredericks wanted to split the 2 lots into 35 acres, he could put 2 houses there.
No, he can split them. He can't, according to this, he can't get a building permit to put houses there.
Well, we talked about him doing that as a possibility, so now he can't.
I think
That was talked about at the last meeting.
Prior to
Andy
ruling.
bringing up this part of the code.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think that part is still curious to me because of existing entitlements, right? Like those entitlements existed prior to Chad's feedlot. I'm not saying I want another state's attorney opinion, but I am curious about that one. You know, there's a difference in saying, here comes a use, this can no longer become a 30 lot subdivision or, you know, commercial, but to actually take away existing entitlement is a little bit different, maybe to me.
Not according to this.
Well, no, I understand how
And
that
would
is.
would it matter if he split that into 2 lots, unless he is building on both lots, you're still taking away the rights, because if you split it in 2, your intention is gonna be to give it to family or to sell it, and guess what? That's a new residence that now doesn't have that right.
Basically,
can't
what would
they-
happen, it would be that it would have limited lots at the time that this got adopted. So we'd have to go back and look when this got adopted, and I think it was in 2014, when we did the whole land use map, we updated the code, because I couldn't find it in versions prior to that, so it would have been 2014.
So he couldn't apply for a variance?
He can apply for a variance and we can grant it to him, yes.
Yeah, okay.
And again, I think that's the point of this, is that you have to just go through the process to say, I am acknowledging that I'm releasing my standing to make a nuisance claim. By applying for a variance and asking for permission, going on record saying, I want to build my house here.
Yeah.
I'm never going to make a nuisance claim. That's, I think, the point of this.
Okay.
Okay, any other discussion?
Question, I'll call the question.
Let's see, I will call the roll. L.
No.
Buckley.
So we're moving to deny. So yes.
Braun.
No.
Berger is absent. Roar.
Yes.
Tomac.
Yes.
Wald.
Your motion is to deny.
Yes.
Agree or disagree?
Zachmeyer.
Yes.
And I vote yes. 6-2, 6-2, motion carries.
So our next item is section 5-310, data centers.
Natalie, can we actually take
Yes.
let's take a 5-minute break?
Good idea.
It's almost 8 o'clock.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody, for
This
keeping it short.
conference is no longer being recorded.
Yeah.
Okay, Natalie.
Okay, we're back in session. So, next item, the draft of data centers. I really did not change much since last time. I think we are stalling out on infrasound. I'm at a loss. I have very little to go on with that. I did change, so highlighted in your draft, I did
Now,
change.
hang on.
Yeah.
Let's stop the discussion amongst the audience. Thanks.
So I did change to preliminary stormwater plan as opposed to full stormwater plan at application phase. Since that is gonna be much like the, energy conversion center, you're gonna have tons of engineering that has to go into that, so change that. And then we did have fee for review in, direct air capture use. And, I think probably some of what we've put in here, we should go and update eventually, direct air capture use and also translate this.
Mr.
into-
Chairman, are we live?
Yes.
We should be. What's up, Andy? Sorry, Andy, I guess we were muted.
Can you hear us now?
Thanks for
Yes,
the
I
heads up.
can, thank you.
Okay. So in direct air capture use, we had fee for review. I think that was mostly for review of the plume modeling. A comment was made in a previous meeting that we should carry that over into data center use for the noise impact analysis. So then my question is, what does the county feel comfortable with? Do we want to select, and this was brought up at the last meeting, do we want to select a contractor to do the noise impact analysis, or do we want to just review it after the fact? So, I mean, that's just an open-ended question. If the applicant's going to pay for a noise impact analysis and then pay again to have somebody review it, I mean, there is, I guess, some sense in having the county contract that out, but that's a whole procurement process. That's a whole, it's a bigger thing to have to coordinate. So, and we can also not have another engineering firm review it. I think it was probably less in our capability, the plume modeling that was in the CO2, and maybe it's within our capability to assess noise impact analysis, but that's just an open question. So it's on page 4. And then just the general question, are we comfortable having a letter of guarantee from a power provider that they are going to supply power to a data center, or do we want to say data center needs to supply their own power? That's an open-ended question. There's talk at the last meeting about infrasound and vibration. I have something in here about vibration on page 5. Again, this is just the start of a discussion on that point. And infrasound, I would need to do if I could get out of current planning, then we could put more hours into updating this ordinance, but I haven't dug super far into the infrasound, all the studies and whatnot on that, so that's it. That's the only changes since last time. So I think if we're close, if we feel like we're close and we have a pretty solid draft, I mean, I guess I would say make comments and about what should change, answer some questions, move along. If we have a lot of work left to do, maybe form a subcommittee so that concerns can get addressed through a longer discussion that might be difficult to have at a meeting like this. So.
Questions for Natalie?
Natalie, I thought that the subcommittee was going to be developed.
So a subcommittee, the question of forming one is one that this commission can discuss at this meeting. If the commission thinks there's a need for one or not. I mean, that's just, I just put it on the agenda as have that discussion. I'm not advocating one way or the other.
Other questions for Natalie?
I guess I'll comment, the commission, county commission, I'll say, we said they gave Natalie, not really the go-ahead, but it is within our power to name a committee. Mm-hmm. And the commission kind of just gave Natalie that blessing if we want to do that. But the commission also doesn't want it to drag out for months. I mean, they want this to get, I should say, the commission, and I think Commissioner Zachmeyer will agree with me, that we don't want it to last for 6 months. We can't continue this discussion from the committee. And I know that Commissioner Boehm has talked to me as well, that he would like to see a month or a month and a half, and we should have that back to us to get it back to the county commission. So we're not going to drag it out. It's just not going to happen. Otherwise, if it gets drug out, the commission is going to say, well, we'll take what you have, and it'll go from there.
Yeah, Jack, I guess I'm going to agree. I think if this commission is going to recommend and form a subcommittee, think that subcommittee needs to have a very specific goal and desired outcome. I don't think a subcommittee needs to rehash the whole ordinance. We've worked on it for a long time. So I guess let's see how discussion goes, and that'd be my recommendation. If we identify a clear need, I'm open to it, but I think we need that clear need and a relatively rapid timeline.
For sure. And I guess the question in my mind really was the infrasound question. I'm grasping. I mean, that's far beyond my capability, knowledge. I mean, I can spend hours researching the same as anybody else. We're limited by what studies are out there, how robust those studies are, et cetera. So, ideally, you would have someone on the subcommittee with that expertise, but I don't know that we're going to get necessarily anybody who has that in terms of their technical training. So.
Okay, are there other questions for Natalie?
I do have one comment, Mr. Chairman, is that if we're going to, there's the question here Natalie asked about, does the county want to require that the operation have its own power generation capacity dedicated exclusively to the use? Mm-hmm. I guess the concern I have is that I want to support Morgan Sioux, and they're our local power company, and if we're going to support our local businesses, I think that should be one of them that we need to support. I guess we need to get a yes or no whether they can support that power. I do know in Ellendale that MDU did put in a substation there. The company, Applied Digital, did pay for that. And so the company that's going to do the electricity, if we're going to have them do that, the company's going to have to pay for it. But I really want to make sure that we support our local power company and our local businesses. Hopefully that company that is going to supposedly build this thing, if it's going to get built, that they will consider that as well.
And I should say, all these changes are kind of based on comments at the last meeting.
Right.
So again, I'm not coming at this from staff saying one way or another. Mm-hmm. It's kind of reiterating just comments that had come in.
Yep.
Mr. Chair, if I could, about the power comment. So the last meeting we had, Morgan Sioux was here and did give us a letter. But since then, I've also had a meeting with Basin Electric, and they presented to us their large load program, and it looks like it's a pretty robust program. So I feel like they have that pretty well covered. If there's any large loads that show up in the area, they have to go through a whole bunch of steps and rigmarole to even get the power there.
And Mr. Chairman, if I could ask a question, because this is information that I've been trying to gather, that just the idea, we're asking, at least our draft now, we're asking for a letter from a power provider saying that they can guarantee power for a data center at the point in time that we are providing approval for the siting. And I just don't have a good handle on the timing in which that type of letter can be given, is reasonable to ask for. And I don't know if in those discussions there was any better idea of when the timing is when a power provider can give that type of a guarantee.
I don't recall that they had any specific timing. I do have the slides I could probably share with you. But I don't think that, just in discussion with them, it felt like it probably wouldn't be a problem to get something.
To get something. Okay. That's all I'm getting at, is it a reasonable
It might be kind
element?
of vague, but because the whole thing was related to a group that I belong to with the engineering, and I was asking questions about what's going on up north in Mercer County and Oliver County, and that's what they could share with me at the time. Was
Got it.
The large load program, which seemed like it was a pretty good deal.
Okay. Good to know.
Other questions for Natalie?
I do have a question on the reclamation, and I don't know if that's the same as decommissioning, but like on 5, it says including replacement of topsoil. Generally, they sell the topsoil, so how would they replace the topsoil? I mean,
If that's the expectation.
just the comment.
Yeah, if that's the expectation going in, then they would have to either save it or they would have to bring it from somewhere else and they can plan accordingly.
Okay.
Other questions?
And I should say too, those were changes that were based on comments that were made, at the public hearings thus far.
I guess I have one question on the fee for review. Understanding the headache of the procurement and everything to go through to find an engineer.
Mhm.
It's not that you can just go pick one. Is there a way to word it that an engineer would be agreed upon between the county and the applicant?
So I could do some more work on this. I know there's another county, I can't remember which one. It was like a criteria for approved engineering firms where it was like, okay, had to have done sound studies X number of times or for X size customer, so that you have
Yep.
criteria. And that's certainly something that we could put in there, to revise that as opposed to, having us select someone.
Right.
I think that would be very
Right.
reasonable to do.
Yeah, I just knowing, if you have to put this out for 3 bids and you have to take the cheapest bid, you could be taking an engineer that's never done this before, but
Mhm.
said, hey, I think I can do that.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and so then that could also eliminate fee for review, because it's like, okay, if you have a consultant who has whatever our threshold is for enough experience, then you're
Yep.
trusting that they're doing a adequate job.
Yep.
Yeah.
So maybe the only thing I want to make sure I'm understanding, because the applicant would be contracting with, I guess we're calling it an engineer of some sort to do the study.
Mhm.
So then they would also contract with another engineer to do the review?
No, so in other words, rather than us hiring someone to check their work, it would be we create criteria for how qualified their engineer has to be, or engineering firm.
So there would
has
be
to
no review then?
We would do our own internal
Sure.
review in the
Got
same
it.
way that the engineer reviews stormwater plans, but,
Okay.
and I mean, I guess the point would be, it's not uncommon for jurisdictions, like even stormwater plans, very familiar,
Certainly.
where it's like, it's so complicated on such a big project that you kind of would want to contract out your review. So, maybe it's something I guess we should ask the county engineer about his comfort level with this type of review.
Yeah, and I don't know, I mean, this one's so unique, like, I think ideally, the county would have sort of like, if we were to pursue something like this, there'd be more of a standing contract with a larger firm that
To
could have
review.
various,
Mhm.
right, where it's
Right.
like, even if it was stormwater,
Mm-hmm.
the county gets a complicated stormwater plan, they can send it to that
Right.
consultant or this, I don't know if those, really
Well,
different things here.
Yeah, they do the kinds of things all the time, but,
Mhm.
I think the problem you're gonna have is, I don't think we have any of those kinds of engineers in the state.
Yeah, exactly.
So
That's
you're gonna be going to
exactly-
like Colorado or like
Yep.
Virginia or
Well, that-
something like that,
And
Kansas
that's
City.
where the headache comes into.
Exactly.
On the procurement side, because you're gonna have to run, you can't just go hire them for X amount of dollars. You have to see what's out there. That's gonna take time.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So you'd be stalling an application for potentially 6 months till you got an engineer or a contract in place.
Well, generally how it works is if you have a standard open contract, you can just do quick releases off of it, or
Yeah.
it's just a standing contract and it's an hourly thing.
And I guess that's why I'm talking more of like a national firm with a local
Yeah.
presence, so like HDR, Stantec, those types of
They-
firms.
they
right?
might.
I don't know, yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, maybe.
we're talking
I mean,
tens of thousands of employees,
yeah, we
right?
could
So
ask.
I don't think we need to
Yeah.
solve it, but if we're going to do it, I think it'd have to be something like that.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
Well, and I mean, then that's the trouble is, how many applications are we gonna get? It's probably, I mean, I don't wanna say just one, but I mean, it's not gonna be many, to have a standing contract.
And didn't we do something similar to this with the DAC? code?
Yes.
Was it this exact same, or was it
This
some
is
variant?
This is the wording that I pulled in from the DAC ordinance.
Okay.
And I do have to say that as we have, really have dove into this with the data centers, I think there's some updating that we should do to the DAC ordinance because we continue to refine these questions. I mean, I think it's better than it was even, last fall when we adopted the DAC ordinance. And that we need to be consistent across uses. Ultimately, I really want to take away data center versus DAC versus other things and get
Yeah.
like rural industrial category that's like more uniform.
And that's what I was thinking
but
too,
that's
is
a lot
it
of-
needs to be uniform.
Yes.
Not different for each
Yep.
one.
And I would like to suspend time and just do that. But we don't have time to do that, so, yeah.
And we can always amend, because we,
Yeah, I mean, just the trouble is
Yes.
that it should be consistent when you release
Yes,
it, and
right.
that's the trouble we're running into.
I have one more question. On generators, I think, I haven't found it here yet. There's a lot of pages, but I was just kind of curious. I think it was something about as long as it's run 52 hours or less a year, as far as maybe in the noise
Is that
section.
the noise? Yeah, I think that's in the noise.
Well, with these generators, they're a lot of times the size of a container, and they have to test them. So do we have to kind of, does that add to the hours per year?
That's the whole reason to have that 52, is that you're accounting for how much you're testing it. And I think we said in here you can't test more than one at a time.
yeah, because that would be 50, once a week,
Yeah.
right? 52 weeks, they would have to test.
Okay.
Is that what you mean, Becky?
Well, I was just kind of curious if, I want to make sure that if people would be concerned about the noise from these generators and also the pollution that, if they're testing like, once a week, I want to make sure we're covered with that.
Yeah, so.
That adds up.
It's on page 7. Noise produced by backup energy generation that is expected to be used at a frequency of less than 52 hours per year is not required to be included in the noise impact analysis. So the noise analysis is just looking at standard operations and the noise that would be produced by standard operations. We're trying to give them a break, basically, because that would add a lot, your backup generation noise, which you're only going to run them once a week. That's why the 52. And we did have that discussion, I can't remember, I thought you were here, as far as emissions, DEQ has their own way of handling that, and they're in an environment where, backup power isn't exactly part of the equation, but I think they're adjusting as far as emissions go. That's not our job to regulate emissions.
Right.
Yeah.
I think you said that last time.
Last meeting,
Yep.
yeah, or the meeting before. There've been,
Yeah.
been a few.
All right, other questions for Natalie? Talk about after the hearing.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's do the same thing with the public hearing. I'm going to limit to 3 minutes. Let's try to keep things to new comments and specific to the ordinance or sections of the ordinance. So with that, I'll open the hearing. Second call for the hearing.
Doug Hilly, Mandan. First of all, I've got to compliment this young lady. I'm sure with what's going on, and as new as this whole AI thing is, and as big as it is, there's nights you want to crawl in a hole and run away. I think the attempt at what she's doing is well, but even she'll admit that it's over her head. One concern I have about the AI Center and the way things are going and what's happened in the past is the lack of transparency that the AI management has been given the public. Everything is pretty close-lipped and tight, and there's just nothing going out to where the public knows anything about it. And the circus that's going on in the counties north of us, Mercer and Oliver County, I hope that never gets here. And part of it is because there is no transparency of what's going on up there. Okay. To answer, I brought up the suggestions that we take a look at hiring experts to do certain fields and things like that. In the last couple of weeks, Northwest Landowners has come out and they have a monthly online ask a lawyer type thing or ask your question. They are looking into working with counties to develop a model ordinance. What they want to do is they want to create a conference in the very near future where they bring in county commissioners, people like Natalie, and state's attorneys, and experts in the field, as you were talking about, engineers and people for different projects. They're trying to put together a conference, and along with that, they also are have open communications with some of the AI company management, people that have looked into the state. They want to put it together and work with the whole group to create a model ordinance based on what many of us have. And they've reviewed I believe it's Montreal and Divide County. Am I correct, Natalie, in that they're very close, their ordinance is very close to ours, what you're working on?
No, everybody's is really different. I mean, Montreal hired.
Of course, yours is better.
No. Montreal hired, I think it's Montreal that hired SRF, and they had a pretty thorough.
Okay, but they have looked at other ones, and they're trying to do something together. Now, Northwest Landowners started as a landowner company, and based on things that were happening in the oil patch in the northwest corner of the state. They've since expanded, and Derek Broughton is their on-staff attorney, and he's been in the news doing several things for landowner rights. So he's really big on the landowner rights thing, and he's working very hard. But I think, and I did not go forward and give any names to Derek or the people from Northwest Landowners, but I do believe that any input we could get from an organization like that with what they're trying to get together and pull several counties together for a conference would be very, very worthwhile. This is in its infancy. They announced it at about 10 days ago that they were trying to get it created. They don't have a date, but they're saying time is of the essence and they want to do it as quick as they can.
Thanks,
Thank
Doug.
you for your time.
Hello, my name's Signe Snortland. Thank you for an opportunity to speak. I live on Somer Drive North, just north of the city of Mandan. And I've recently learned that Next Era has optioned some land through a shell company just south of my home and east of Old Red Trail and west of Highway 1806. So this literally would be in my backyard. So I'm very interested in this ordinance, and thank you very much for working hard on developing a good ordinance. My first comment is I think there should be an independent environmental review of any package that someone submits, any application is submitted, that they have to pay for the environmental review and it be done by a contractor well-versed in this kind of study, and that it quantify the benefits and the adverse impacts of any proposal that's brought in front of you, so you have that information at your fingertips. Secondly, the data center should be built not in a neighborhood like mine, but in an industrial area. And I see in your section B, permitted districts, it said data centers may be permitted in the agricultural or industrial districts, and I would recommend that it just be permitted in an industrial district and not in an agricultural district. Though I really like the B1, where you point out that no more than 5% of the land can be prime farmland. That's excellent. The third point is the State Historical Society of North Dakota would be the entity that would comment on whether an archaeological survey was needed. The State Historic Preservation Office comments on federal projects, and since this is not a federally regulated project, it should be the State Historical Society of North Dakota rather than the State Historic Preservation Office. And that's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sydney.
Good evening, Commissioners, and my name is Holly Birch, and thank you again for this opportunity. I submitted something to Natalie today. I know it was, or yesterday, excuse me. I know that's kind of late, and it did have to do with some of the sound information. However, I started working on it after the packet was presented on Friday night, so I kind of knew, what was going on and what changes had been made. So anyway, there are attachments. There are some big studies in there, though, so it's kind of heavy stuff. But anyway, and I had a couple of additional thoughts. But while I was working on this the other day, something occurred to me, and I asked a friend who is an attorney, and I just asked him, what are the penalties for breaking an ordinance such as we see in this case, such as a county ordinance? And he said that typically it's a Class B misdemeanor, punishable by 30 days in jail and $1,000 to $1,500. $1,000? Okay, so, excuse me, but $1,000 is nose tissue to companies that are coming in with billion dollar projects. And then I started looking at some other things, and probably the short time span, but the most pressing one I found was that a data center in Georgia was just caught because the water pressure in the community dropped, and they had an illegal well and an unlicensed hookup to the city water system, and they'd pilfered over around 30 million gallons of water. And when they got caught, they said, "Oh, so sorry, so sad. We'll pay you for what we owe you, the bulk rate." And that was it. So they paid the bulk rate. The community has lost their aquifer. They've lost access to their storage for their, I shouldn't say access, but the water in their, for their community in their other source is way low. They have poor pressure, and that's all they get was, "Sorry, we'll actually pay our bill." So I started looking at this, and I was reviewing it again after it came out on Friday, and there's some excellent work in this. I have a lot of things underlined. I think there's some exceptional work, and I have to compliment Natalie that we've done on this, or that you guys have done on this, and have taken information from the public. But what does it really have for teeth? I mean, honestly, are we wasting our time because of the amount of money that these companies can throw in it? We have no recourse. I've found a couple incidences where, either tax incentives or rebates have been put off for like 20, 30 years. How many of the companies will even still be in operation yet at that point? We don't know that, and I don't know if it's anything that we can address here, but I think it's something that has to be considered. There's more and more communities that have welcomed these types of facilities, and the number of employees promised are they've severely under-delivered on that, and they've taken, a good chunk of energy. Lake Tahoe, California had their energy provider stolen from them. They are out of power in about a year, and they have to find another generation source. Not transmission like More Grand Sioux is, but the actual generation source for their community, because Liberty Power, Liberty Energy was purchased by Meta. So I think there's a lot of things that we have to consider to protect our community and our county here. And again, I think there's really been some excellent work done on this, and I won't take any more of your time, but I appreciate you listening to me tonight. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Holly.
Mr. Chairman, can I say just a couple things? So, thank you so much. Going back to the last speaker, thank you so much for coming to this meeting. I've heard about that option. That's actually the city of Mandan's zoning territory. This ordinance doesn't apply there. So like, I would go talk to the city of Mandan. They are just adopting their new code, their update with data center regulations. That would be the place to make those comments, but I'm so glad that you came out and that you're engaged. And then Holly, where is she? Will you take that to the state legislature? Because I've been arguing that for a long time, and I mean, nobody listens to planners about the fee, the slap on the wrist. I mean, that's literally what it is. Okay, that's it.
Oh, Jonathan. I saw the boots, then I knew who it was.
Good evening, and thank you for allowing us to speak. My name is Jonathan Marole, and I just want to start off by apologizing last time. I heard about the meeting the day before, and I had no idea what was all going on. So I apologize for coming up here and asking for something that you already had. So, sorry. Since then...
It was good. It was all good.
Since then, I have taken a keen interest in this, and I've made phone calls and read through things and tried to educate myself a little more. So, a couple of things that I would beg you to consider would be to lengthen the distance of the setback. And so, a lot of the noise ordinances and the vibration ordinances are better further away, as well as just how many individual residences and families and operations could be within that half mile. And so for us, a half mile isn't very far. And so I would truly beg this board to consider lengthening that. So there are lots of different approaches to it. I've heard of different counties that have different plans. If people have an objection to something that's proposed, in certain cases it's a 3-mile setback. It can be a 2-mile setback if they sign off, or if they really want it and they don't mind, if something comes, they can have a half-mile setback. And so those that welcome things like this, they can have it in their backyard, and those who would like some distance can have that as well, so it doesn't change their rural way of life. So I would be in favor of the Northwest landowners and what they've done. I think they've done a great job. And also when it comes to a subcommittee, like for us, just my own family speaking here, there are certain things for developments. If there's an eagle's nest, if they find some insect or moth or nesting bird, they get all kinds of regulations and setbacks. But like, we're human beings and we have a soul, and like, these places can come in and change, disrupt communities. And so my plea is to consider a further setback. So I like the 3.2 and a half that they have, but in some of the other counties that I've looked into, like the nearest is a mile, and that helps, but I would prefer more the better. So that is my comment, and thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Jonathan. Okay, second to last call for the hearing. Third and final call. And I'll close the hearing. Thoughts from the board?
So, Mr. Chairman, the next step is to actually get something moving toward progress, something that gives us to our objective of getting a ordinance or a specification together, whether that be through committee or what. But yeah, it sounds like from these people out there's a lot out there, but it's going to take some people who are going to dedicate some time and effort and have some sources of information as well to get something together. And I think the sooner that's done, the better. I recommend a study committee. As I think that's one, because I don't think everybody here on the board here can take off. In fact, I only got one more month in my term and I'm finished, so I'm be retiring there from that. But I think we need to move forward in that particular manner. It's up to the board how they want to do that.
Other thoughts from the board?
Mr. Chair, I'd also be in favor of a subcommittee if we could give it a time frame limit, like a month or two. I don't know if that's too short or too long. But the other issue you run into is people's schedules, and it's summer.
Yeah. I mean, I guess, Mr. Chairman, if I could speak to that. So I think realistically, like, let's say we were gonna try for the June meeting, I think that would be impossible because you have 2 weeks to let people know, like, hey, let's have a meeting, what is your schedule like? And aside from appointing, or selecting subcommittee members, I think it could be realistic to have a draft back to P&Z by the July meeting. So have your subcommittee work on it, bring that draft, because again, I think we're very close, and bring that draft to P&Z at the July meeting. I think that would be a realistic timeframe.
And do we want the subcommittee to explore the entire ordinance, or do we want to focus in on a few items?
I feel like we should have direction for them about what exactly we want them to look at, like what parts, for sure. And so I guess as you look at this, there's not a whole ton that's highlighted. I guess speaking to the half mile, that's just for lay down. Where is he?
He's way in the back.
Yeah, that's just for lay down yards and substations. The setbacks for the facility itself is based on measurements and the noise study. So, but I know there have been other people who had suggested we have a mile setback for laydown yards because it's such a huge project and construction is so long, so I guess maybe that's a question.
And maybe just a minimum to go with the study, I guess, we could consider? Does that make?
A minimum,
Well, if we don't have if we're not establishing something specific, we're
Mhm.
leaving it to the studies.
oh, I see, like what if the study comes up with 90 decibels? I mean,
Exactly, yeah.
I don't know how that'd be possible, because I don't know anywhere where ambient noise is 90 decibels.
Right.
I don't know, but yeah, I mean, that's a thought.
For the subcommittee.
Yes, for the subcommittee, there we go.
And, I mean, just going by my notes, I would agree with that too, like, just exploring the setbacks a little bit more, but
Yep.
then also the infrasound, I can't say that word.
Infrasound, yeah.
And, you know, maybe a little bit more clarification on the power supply.
Mhm.
And number 16, that fee for review. That's
Mhm.
kind of what I'm seeing. I don't know what anybody else is seeing.
Yeah, and to maybe examine that idea of like qualified attributes for a contractor type of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So is the expectation then that this board identifies what the subcommittee looks like?
So I had sent an email out to everybody. We certainly need a portfolio holder. Jackie usually does that, or you did it for CO2, so we can just tell you again. And then a P&Z member, usually those with engineering expertise. That's always useful. You know, we've asked you to do that before. I would really love to have somebody on there from one of the power companies, not a PR person, someone who truly understands operations, someone who would be in, you know, like the large load power plan type world. I mean, I don't know if they have time to sit on a subcommittee, but, you know, maybe we can consult, I guess, or ask questions.
I mean, it's a
but-
question I could ask, but I kind of doubt it.
Yeah, I doubt it too. That'd be
And
the person that I'd want on a committee, but they don't. Anybody who has that expertise does not have time.
Would you need that person to be a Morton County resident?
You know, I think because that expertise is hard to come by, I mean, we don't have rules about people being a Morton County resident. I mean, on our last subcommittee, we had a non-Morton County resident who had oil and gas experience, you know, and brought that experience to the subcommittee, and I think that was a very valuable, you know, person to have on the team. So, I guess that would be, and then who else? Yeah, I think those would be the major ones. Anyone who has experience with actual infrasound. I don't know who that would be. Probably no one in the state. But this committee or the county commission, I mean, this committee has the latitude in the bylaws to say who's going to be on the committee. But I know the last one, the county commission appointed. But I think timing wise, we've got to wait another, 2 weeks?
Well, we're actually meeting next week on
Oh,
the 4th,
okay.
next week.
Mm-hmm.
Natalie, would it be good to get an application from, like these folks out here, maybe one or two people who have a really burning desire, have the time and really want to get to that, they could apply to be on that board too, couldn't they?
Yeah, I don't think we have an application
I mean, you
process
don't want to get
per
too big
se.
a board, you want to have a working committee that's not too large, but you want to have
Concerned
a core group,
citizen.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
But you'd still want someone to be somewhat qualified.
Right.
So you'd
who
probably
underst-
want somebody with a resume or something.
Sure. Yep. Who understands, has a general understanding of our limitations or abilities in terms of zoning law.
I really really wouldn't want many more than 6.
Right, I think it gets
5 to 6,
unwieldy.
because it really gets hard to set a date
Yes,
if you have more
than
that.
5 or,
Yes.
yeah, 5 or 6, for sure.
I'll nominate Maria from P and Z.
I already volunteered.
He beat you to it.
I already volunteered a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, so I guess, I don't know, maybe those in the electrical industry can email me with ideas, or you can research and say, yes, here's a great person for your, or power, power supply industry. Maybe I can suggest someone.
So what, you're informing a subcommittee, do we want to balance that interest?
Oh, and then usually we would have a industry interest, so like data center person,
Right, and I guess it,
balanced with
part of what I'm.
community
So
advocate.
you'd have the, right, yeah, okay, yeah, community
So
advocate, right.
one
so-
industry person and one community advocate. That's what we
Right.
had on the last one.
I'm sort of maybe viewing the power load advocate as maybe a biased position, is that?
Biased as in how?
I feel like that's a
Which way?
neutral,
Is it neutral?
kind of.
Okay.
It's, I mean, because they provide power to all users. I don't know. I mean, I can see where you're coming from with that. But I guess I'm looking at it more as like sharing their expertise with us about how the grid functions, or how they
Right.
plug into it, or SWOT analysis that we might not be thinking about.
Yeah.
That type of thing.
Totally, yeah. I think that's the value we'll get from it,
Mhm.
just thinking from a public perspective.
For sure.
But yeah, so the community advocate, I guess, how do we identify that?
Yeah, I think.
Or is that also Maria?
Why am I volunteered for everything?
Jackie, I guess from a county commission standpoint, and Andy, what are your thoughts? I think it was so obvious last time with director capture that Kurt was both qualified and concerned, that I don't think we even vetted candidates for like community advocate person. So I don't know if you have thoughts about county commission, either some process for accepting applications or appointing.
Mr. Chairman, my only concern on having the subcommittee is that it is narrowed. We need to look at what Northwood Owners Association has. There has been good ideas, but this cannot be drug out so that it can create death by meeting or death by moratorium. The county commission, I believe, as a whole, wants this settled, and they want good rules within the next 2 months. So the subcommittee is gonna have to be formed quickly, and their scope would be narrowed to some of the things that were brought up that in these last few meetings. There is absolutely no reason to go back and rewrite the ordinance from scratch. And so we need to get 5 members on this subcommittee, and we need to move it forward so that it is done within 2 months, so that we can approve these rules and move on to the next.
I agree with Commissioner Zachmeyer, but I would submit to you, Andy, that with the 250th anniversary and all the things going on, if the county commission would consider giving us another month, at least till August.
It'll be something then that we have to visit about at the next county commission meeting. The main statement though is we're not gonna be killing this by moratorium and by rules, by meetings, by having a bunch of subcommittees. We need to move it forward and get rules in place. We'll see, I don't know, we'd have to visit with the rest of the county commissioners to get their timetable if they would like to go to August.
Because basically that's what it would go to if we had this at the July meeting, then it would go to county commission in August anyway. So if we looked at it in August, then it would go to county commission in September.
Our first meeting in August is the 13th, and then our second meeting would be the 25th.
Right. And so ours, the P and Z meeting would be past that, you know, if it was the August meeting. Because if P and Z meets in June, then it would go to that 13th of August county commission meeting.
Mr. Chairman, if I may,
All right, yeah.
Yep.
if the rest of the county commissioners want to continue this same time frame and have it within 2 months, I know they're gonna be requesting special meetings of, planning and zoning board to address whatever the recommendations are from the subcommittee that's formed.
I think we can get it done in July. I don't know.
So it would be getting it to planning and zoning in July.
Right,
And
the
ideally-
subcommittee would have to work on it prior to that.
Prior to that.
Yep.
And from planning and zoning.
Then it would go to county commission.
county commission. That does that necessarily mean, work has to be complete, or is it just getting it to county commission?
I think the draft should be done. I mean, like the P and Z basically reviews the final draft in July.
Right.
And just says, here, this is the draft. People can comment, and then it goes to county commission.
So Natalie, I have will we meet the fourth Wednesday in July? Because there's 5 Wednesdays in July. Yeah. So the 22nd is the 4th, and the 29th is the 5th Wednesday in July. So when's our meeting? I haven't looked to see.
I think it's the 4th, it's usually the 4th.
Yeah, so it would be the 22nd.
Yeah. Oh, so then that would go to, what, county commission the next week?
No, the 13th, it's the second Thursday, which would be the 13th of August.
Yeah, I would have to look online. It's gotta dig through the website, but I think it's the 4th. So. So in any case. Do we then have county commission discuss at next meeting and decide?
Decide timeline.
The composition of the.
Composition.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, this board does have the capability of forming its own composition. It's the timeline that would only have to be addressed by the county commission. If the board feels that they would like to have until August for the subcommittee input, that can be presented. But this board also has the authority to form a subcommittee of any composition it should like.
So I think biggest concern is, we need to identify individuals contact them, arrange availability.
Mm-hmm.
So far, we have Jackie and Maria.
Yes,
Yep.
that's what we've got. We could be our own committee, Jackie.
I mean, it sounds like, Maria, you have a contact or contacts potentially for,
I feel like we can
the
find
power.
someone from the power industry. I feel confident we can probably round up a person.
that's likely a local person.
Yeah.
I can reach out and ask.
An industry person.
I will, yeah, I'm sure we can find it. I think we'll have an easy time finding an industry person.
Okay.
I can reach out to some people.
So a community advocate. If anybody has ideas for that.
We can thumb wrestle. We can have everybody in the room thumb wrestle. Or vote amongst themselves.
Would it be fair to have people email Natalie something by a certain date
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
if they are interested? And
And say why they think they would be a good person for that.
and if we don't get anybody to volunteer, then what?
Do some recruiting.
Well, so even so, is the selection then Natalie's to make, or does that
Right,
go to
I don't really
commission?
want that on my shoulders.
So I think
Yeah.
we should, if anybody in this room is interested, it goes to Natalie and.
So what I could do, anyone who's interested, send me your application. We don't give your emails out because, all that discussion is supposed to be happening here. But I could then send applications and then this board can select, like based on what has been presented potentially.
But this board?
Right, because it's P and Z's subcommittee.
Right, so we would select, sorry, I'm being slow here, how do we select? I mean, you have to ask each of us individually to not
Yes.
be a public meeting, and we can vote. Holly, do you wanna do it?
That's there, Holly. First answer. Okay, there, easy, Holly, there we go.
I actually wrote down we should get Holly Birch to do it.
Okay, there, easy. Yep, everybody agrees. Okay, sounds good. Let's have Holly do it.
Easy enough.
Easy.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, everyone. Okay, that's easy. And we'll find two industry data center person, power person, easy. Okay, and then I will send out invites or, doodle poll for time.
Okay.
Perfect, okay.
And then how often do you think we should meet?
I-
Once every 2 weeks?
So what I think is we set a date as soon as we can, look through this, get a scope of like, what do people see as being the top things, we've already talked about it. We've talked about the topics. Some of it we might get through quick. Some of it might be like, we really need a whole meeting just for this topic. And then we'll have another meeting. I feel like, by beginning of, like, before 4th of July, I would say, we need to be kind of done so that we can then have it ready for the July meeting.
Yeah.
Like, if there's one more meeting that has to happen in July, fine, but I would say probably no more than one meeting in July. So it all happens in June. That's what I think. Yeah, I think we can do that.
Every 2 weeks or every week?
Might be week.
It is what it is.
Yeah. We'll just have to run really efficient meetings.
Depends on if we're at the shop.
Right.
So do we want an update to P and Z then at the end of June?
July.
Right, and
So
is
July.
when
Like,
we
we're
get the
just-
final, I'm asking.
That'd be the final. Like, we are working on this thing. We're gonna present a final.
So no update, no discussion about it at all in
we
June.
could say what we have by June, but I guess I would make that more so an update as opposed to a big discussion thing.
Yeah, I'm mostly asking, like, is there any public input, public comment in June, or is this on hold until July for
I see what you're saying.
public purposes?
I see what you're saying.
And you don't have to decide it.
Well, I
now,
guess, at any time, people can send me their questions and comments. It's like I only get them the day before the meeting, so I can't put them in the new draft. That's like, for the past 3 months, like, I can't update the draft because I get them right before the meeting. So anybody can send comments, questions, all the things that we can put into the meetings with the subcommittee, so that we can discuss it there. And so theoretically, those comments should be coming in a manner that we can update the draft instead of this, a public hearing where it's at this meeting. I would really like people to submit their comments while we're working, would be my thought, so that it's not like it's the first time they're seeing it in July. It's like, okay, and I can post it online. We have our news and information page. I could say at the end of June, and maybe that's it. It's just the end of June. It's like, here, it's out. Here's what we have so far. Send comments.
Natalie, quick question.
Yeah.
Just for people that commented, so like they can send kind of comments for the subcommittee to.
Yes, yes. Although please please read the stuff. Please tell me what point, like here it's 3B, we really think it should be written this way. I can't have like paragraphs and studies. I mean, send me studies, but like, oh, this is a problem in general. I need, at this point, we are so far along, it's this point needs to be written this way. That would be the kind of comments we need. Yeah. Okay, I think that.
So are we good?
I think we're good, yeah. And we have one more item.
Let's do it.
Okay, this one's super simple. So this is just our dimensional and use table. So 2-210 dimensional table, striking out the height restriction in the industrial zone, and just say we don't have one. Because each project is different. I think the economics are such that we're probably not gonna get a 100-story building anywhere in North Dakota, would be my guess. And then I'm also asking to strike, we have so many footnotes about side yard setbacks for residential, and it's ridiculous. So just cross out every single one and say, it's 15 feet, just 15 feet. And then just updating the use table so that we list battery energy storage system and data center just as a use, as its own specific use in the use table, that requires a special use permit. So those can all be taken as a batch, or you can talk about them individually.
All right, thoughts, questions for Natalie?
And as with all zoning code updates, this would have to come back a second time. But just, a first approval.
All right, questions for Natalie before the hearing? Okay, I'll go ahead and open the hearing if there's anyone that would like to speak. Second call for the hearing. Third and final call, and we'll close the hearing. So no motion, Natalie, just general feedback?
It would,
or-
no, it would be nice if I, oh, that's right, we don't make motions on the first one.
No.
Never mind, I was waiting for a motion, we don't need one. Okay, there it is, first time it's presented. It's in the packet.
Any
People have
feedback
seen
for
it.
Natalie? Okay,
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, then pursuant to North Dakota Century Code 440420, I will open the public hearing, and I did not receive any comment cards. Okay, second call for the hearing. Third and final call, and close the hearing. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
We're adjourned.
Mr.
Thanks,
Chairman,
everybody.
if can I have a just quick minute?
You sure can.
I want the planning and zoning board to hear it from me. I had a heart attack over the weekend, that's why I'm not with you folks today. So I'm doing good, wish I was with you guys, and do appreciate any good vibes you send my way.
Thanks, Andy. Wishing you all the best.
Get better, Andy.
Yep, thank you.
Him and his brother.